Ugh. I can't take this dirty tongue flapper seriously.
Hello every pony, it's that super duper special time again since it's time for yet another cartoon ranking video. After my last ranking on Ed and Eddie, you guys voted and wanted me to review Steven Universe. Unlike most of my other ranking videos, this isn't a show I grew up with or even loved that much. Steven Universe aired back in 2013 and by that time I stopped watching Cartoon Network and mainly TV in general. That being said, the show looked interesting so I watched the premiere along with its next batch of episodes. While I did enjoy what I saw, I didn't care enough to continue watching, especially since again, I gave up watching TV altogether. Then around late 2016, I met a friend in high school who was really into the show, so I binged the first 2 seasons and overall really liked it. For the next few years, I caught up and binged a bunch of episodes about once a year until the series ended in 2020 with Steven Universe Future. Despite some issues, I still overall enjoyed it, and that's what I thought of the series for the last 5 years. Now after rewatching the series, has my opinion changed at all? Do I think it's still good? Is it better than I remember? Or is it a steamy load of... Well, you'll just have to watch and find out. Anyway, I don't want to waste any time, so let's quickly go over the rules. First off, I will be reviewing every single episode along with the movie in future. Second, there are going to be episodes that you like that I don't, and ones that I like that you don't. If you want to discuss your thoughts on an episode or multiple episodes, then comment below. Third, I will be rating each episode on a score of 1 to 10. Fourth, some of the episode listings are messed up and out of order. Wikipedia and IMDb have listings that are different from the DVD box set, which is how I watch the series and what I use to order the episodes. Speaking of the DVD box set, I'm gonna rant about that real quick. This is supposed to include all the episodes, which it does, however my copy didn't when I first bought it. I've never had this happen to me before, but when I got this, the last 2 discs were just missing. Yeah, that's right, both future discs were missing, even though on the back it said they were included. So I sent it back, got a new one, and guess what? It had all the discs this time. However, because these DVDs are made so cheaply now, the one I got was damaged and cracked. Normally I'd send it back, but because I already returned it once, I didn't feel like returning it. Also, for the love of God, can we please stop stacking discs on top of each other? I shouldn't have to take one disc out to get to another. That's just annoying and dumb. The disc cases also break or at least fall apart super easily too. So yeah, the packaging is shit, but at least this has all the episodes on it, the menus are nice, and there's even some cool bonus content too. Anyway, unlike my last rankings, this is going to be structured differently since normally I start with the worst episode and end with the best. However, this time around, I'm going in episode order, meaning I start with episode 1 and end with the series finale. Then once I'm done, I'll rank all the episodes from worst to best along with the seasons too. This is something I've thought of doing before, but I'm sort of forced to do it here since Steven Universe has an overarching narrative. There are skippable fillers, the story progresses at a slow pace, but a decent chunk of them are still somewhat important. While I do think I could structure this like my other videos, I feel like it'd be much easier as a viewer to watch it this way. This is especially so since there's some arcs that are made of multiple episodes, so it'd be pretty confusing to see me talk about a season 4 episode, then go back to season 1, jump to season 2, then 5, etc. I'd also have to explain where exactly the episode takes place in the timeline, which sounds very annoying and repetitive too. Anyway, while I do see the appeal of going through a series from start to finish, I personally prefer doing these videos from worst to best. That's because for rankings that go from start to finish, they don't put a lot of focus on the whole ranking aspect. They typically rank all the episodes at the end, they're either done way too quickly or someone takes 5 whole minutes reading the titles of every episode. Normally when I get to the ranking section, I just see the first and last couple placements and skip everything else, especially if there's like 200 episodes. But anyway, that's just me, and Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. I've got a lot to get through, so let's get right into the news.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Steven Universe's pilot did exactly what it needed to do, it showed off what the series would have been like if it ever got picked up. It's basically a Monster of the Week series where a kid named Steven fights off evil monsters with his 3 alien friends or family members. Despite only being 7 minutes, it does a decent job at showcasing how each character is distinct. Steven is a dumb, goofy kid that makes mistakes since he doesn't take his life very seriously. Amethyst is the cool older sister that lets Steven do whatever he wants. Pearl is the opposite and takes everything super seriously since she's very cautious, and Garnet is the quiet and strong one that's also the leader of the team. For a pilot, it's pretty decent, but compared to the rest of the series, even just its first season, it's pretty forgettable. There's not much reason to go back to this besides seeing Steven turn into Andrew Tate.
Exactly a hot girl, Steven.
Well, if I was, I wouldn't be talking to you.
Pilot Steven was sort of nuts. He didn't care about anything.
You're a big joke.
It must be tougher for you, Lars. At least people like jokes.
Yeah, fuck you, Lars, you piece of shit. I hate you so much. Just kidding, you're actually one of the best characters in the whole show. Anyway, I know it's a pilot, but Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. This looks so much worse and less appealing than the actual series. Steven looks good, even if he is a bit different, but all the gems look ugly. Pearl's face makes me want to vomit. Her eyes are black, she has a regular nose, and it looks like she shit her pants too. Amethyst and Garnet aren't as bad, but even so, they're still not great. The overall designs are there for them, but they still needed to make some notable tweaks, which of course they eventually did. They mainly made the characters less realistic as well as less detailed, and most importantly, they made the show 20 times more colorful. Everything is so bright and vibrant, but in the pilot, all the colors are washed out, and again, it's sort of ugly looking too. But yeah, even if the character designs are weird, the colors being so dull is what makes this look so unappealing. Anyway, not a bad pilot, it did what it needed to do, but again, there's really no reason to watch or rewatch it today.
Cookie Cat, he's a pet for your tummy. Cookie Cat, he's super duper yummy.
The first actual episode of the series where Steven sings about Cookie Cat, summons his shield for the first time, and helps kill an evil monster demon thingy. Just like the pilot, this is a very basic episode that introduces all the characters fairly well. Besides the Cookie Cat song, which is great, there's not much reason to go back to it unless you want to see just how much Steven has grown at the end of the series. He acts much more like a kid here. He's way more goofy and carefree, thankfully not annoying, or at least not in this one. His voice is also notably different too. You can tell the actor was going through puberty as the show went on. If you listen to one of the early episodes and one from season 5, it's almost night and day. Anyway, pretty basic and decent first episode. Nothing groundbreaking by any means, but at least it ends with Steven throwing up.
I'm a firing my laser!
There's a giant eyeball that's going to destroy Bitch City, and apparently the only thing that can stop it is a laser cannon that Steven believes his mom gave to his dad. This introduces Greg, and he's pretty cool. He's a regular human that lives in his van and runs a car wash. Even though he knows about the gems, he doesn't really hang out with them since he just wants to live a normal life. It's also sort of awkward since he did sort of kill their leader by sticking a baby in her too. Anyway, I like how Steven's a reason the day is saved. If it wasn't for him believing in his parents, the eyeball would destroy the whole town. It's kind of weird how high the stakes are for literally the second episode, but then again it helps show that even though the gems are strong, there's still a lot of monsters that are stronger than them. Not sure if I should hold this against the episode or not, but since the stakes were so high, why didn't the gems fuse into Alexandrite or even Opal? I know fusion wasn't introduced yet, but even so, this means either one of two things. While Steven was looking for the cannon, they did fuse off screen and tried to stop the eye but weren't strong enough and failed. Or two, they didn't fuse, meaning that this one cannon is somehow more powerful than even Alexandrite, which seems pretty stupid. But ignoring that, this is an improvement over the first episode. It's overall enjoyable and worth going back to.
Hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac, Whopper.
What? I got this. Look, it fits!
Steven gets a cheeseburger backpack and goes on a mission with the gems. He's supposed to bring a statue with him, but forgets it, and because of that, this pillar thingy blows up, meaning Steven failed. Failure. Steven is definitely less likable here than the previous episodes, mainly because he's on a mission for once and doesn't seem to take it seriously. He had literally one job, which was to bring the statue with him, however he brought a bunch of other stuff instead. Some of the things he brought were useful, but even so, he still failed to do the one thing he was asked of. That being said, while Steven is more annoying here, it makes sense why he does fail on his first mission. It would have been dumb if his Fumo plushie actually managed to work instead of the statue. This shows that Steven is useful and has some good ideas, but still isn't ready to go on an actual dangerous mission yet.
Kid, don't shake me.
Mr. Queasy!
Oh, I got a medical condition.
Also, I didn't know this until now, but you can actually buy this cheeseburger backpack online for like 40 bucks, so that's spicy goodness.
Like a boss.
What is going on here? Breakfast!
Steven! I'm hungry!
I'm hungry. I'm bad.
Steven wants to eat
Breakfast!
with the gems, but they're all busy doing various things. Despite that, he still goes and bothers them, which is annoying. This is easily the least likable Steven has been up until now, and especially throughout the first season. I understand that Steven wants to do something nice for everyone, but the gems clearly have more important things to do, like sealing an evil semen demon. The ending is funny, and it's cool to see all these different areas in the temple since this is our first time seeing them. But besides that, Steven is too annoying and holds us back from being decent.
French fry.
Do you want a french fry?
Please help me! No, get him away!
Steven finds one of Pearl's shard thingies and lets it possess a french fry mascot suit however it tries to kill people, because of course it does. This is super predictable. Of course Steven's idea seems good at first, but then shit hits the fan and they have to destroy the shard thingy. Now being predictable doesn't inherently make something bad, but it has to make up for it by being very entertaining, which it isn't. There's some fun moments, but the series isn't that funny most of the time. It also tries going for a horror vibe later on, but that doesn't work because the colors are so vibrant and I can't be scared of a fucking french fry mascot suit. This also introduces the Fryman family and focuses mainly on Petey, who I never cared for. I didn't even know that was his name until writing this, but now I'll remember it because from now on I'm calling him P. Diddy.
Meow?
Steven learns how to shapeshift and turns his fingers into cats, but then loses control and almost dies. Besides taking out his shield once, this is the first time we see Steven use his powers. It's sort of obvious that he'll lose control and be unable to stop turning into a cat, but even so, this is surprisingly solid for an early episode. Steven is likable and relatable here. He's finally able to do something he's always wanted to do, but of course things get out of hand. The last act is genuinely great. Steven nearly dies and his dad saves him by hosing him off in his car wash. I get that this is a kid show and all, but I'm pretty sure if any regular kid went into a power wash, their skin would melt off. Or maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, I'm not a car wash expert. Anyway, this scene is pretty dark, it's emotional, the music is great, and the rest of it is good too.
Is this your magical love bubble or something? Did you make it?
Because you're in love.
That's Lars. We're basically BFFs.
Steven traps himself and Connie in a bubble, so they go around town trying to find a way to— Steven and Connie's chemistry is great. Steven is this weird chubby fat kid and Connie is the serious smart normal girl. They play off each other really well, and I wish Connie was in more episodes, especially during season 1, since a lot of them aren't anything too memorable. Just like the last episode, this is another one where Steven uses his gem powers but isn't able to control them well. These ones are much more interesting than the typical monster of the week, since it shows off Steven's powers and how he's still learning to control them.
Why so serious?
Everyone is on a mission in a maze, and Steven decides he's going to be serious for once, even though he really isn't. There's this one part where he falls down and a bunch of spikes nearly kill him, but then Garnet comes and saves him. Then instead of thanking her and running away, he starts playing his ukulele because he's that stupid. I really wanted to take his ukulele and shove it up his ass when I saw this. Like seriously, you nearly died and you care about your stupid little guitar? I get that Steven is a dumb kid and all, but he doesn't seem to take anything seriously at all. He is the one who solves a death trap and how it works, but even so, this is another one where he's too annoying and unlikable.
I'm, going to end your reign of terror!
Steven finds out that Amethyst has been secretly wrestling at night in order to let out her anger at Garnet and Pearl. This is the first Amethyst episode, and it's alright. I know some people hate her, and maybe even this episode, which I don't really get. No one was really wrong here. Pearl and Garnet were right about Amethyst being too childish and carefree, but at the same time, Amethyst stopped whatever it was they were fighting, and no one got hurt. She should probably be more careful, but Pearl should also stop scolding her so much too. Really think we should have seen how the fight went, but I guess there wasn't enough time since nearly every episode is 11 minutes. Anyway, I can see if people think what Amethyst is doing is wrong, but I really don't, since she's not winning any money and isn't hurting anyone either. Maybe if she hurt another human or Steven and learned to chill out, then that'd be more interesting, but that didn't happen because my name's Jeff.
Oh, shucks. This is amazing! It's invisible!
Huh? What? He's not invisible. He's pink.
Pink? How can he be invisible and pink?
Steven brings home a lion and hangs out with him because lions are cool. Kinda forgot how early Lion got introduced, but I'm not complaining because Lion is great.
I love you!
That's so sweet. I love you too.
He's a giant pink strong lion with super duper pooper powers, and he does whatever the hell he wants. I love how he doesn't even listen to Steven half the time unless it's something really important. Besides Lion though, there's not much else to say. The color palette in the last act looks nice, and that whole sequence in general is pretty fun too.
Just punch and you'll be fine.
Come on, jump.
I did it.
Steven brings everyone to the arcade to have fun. However, Garnet gets addicted and doesn't even notice that the town is in danger. There's this one part where Steven unplugs the machine and Garnet electrocutes her hands in order to turn it back on, which is just something she can do. I don't think this ever gets mentioned or used in the show again, but either way, this is really weird. They also never explain why Garnet gets addicted, but if I were to guess, I'd say she's just the type of person to get too fixated on something and take it super seriously. The first minute and a half shows Garnet beating up this monster, which is only meant to foreshadow it coming back later on. Shouldn't this have hinted at Garnet being too serious or addicted to one thing? The monster escapes and she doesn't care, which seems like a missed opportunity. Wouldn't it have made more sense for her to be frustrated that it got away since she didn't finish doing something that she started? That'd tie into her going crazy later on, but I guess the writers only cared about making this a weird funny moment that never gets mentioned again either. Anyway, not a great Garnet episode, especially since this is her first, but still one that's watchable and even has some funny moments.
What are you doing?
I'm a winner airplane.
All I want to do is see you turn into a giant woman. Ooh, did you bring me anything? Whoa, a rock! Thanks, Garnet!
Steven finds out about fusion and wants to see Pearl and Amethyst fuse into a giant woman. I sort of forgot how early on fusion was introduced, but considering how important and used it is, it makes sense. Steven is handled really well. I can see if some people find him annoying since he constantly talks about seeing them fuse, but I can't complain since that's exactly how I felt. Fusion is awesome in Dragon Ball, and it's still pretty cool here too, especially some of the designs. Opal is a cool fusion. She's got a bow and arrow, and her introduction is done really well, but my main problem is that she's barely in this as well as later episodes. However, for this episode, she's pretty cash money, even if she doesn't get that much screen time.
You're old.
Well, you're in luck. I baked you a pie.
Oh boy, what flavor? Pie.
Steven thinks he's too old to enjoy birthdays anymore, so his gem powers act up and he starts turning super old. This is easily one of the darkest episodes. Just like Catfinger, Steven nearly dies due to his own powers. He was turning into a cat monster there, but here he's literally dying of old age. You see him gradually get older and older, and it's really depressing. This happens for half the episode, but even the first few minutes are sort of sad too. Thankfully, the message is nice, which is to not think about getting old and to stay young, but even so, this is still dark and depressing. I'm not complaining either. I appreciate the darker tone this as well as other episodes have. I'm just surprised I was able to feel this way despite the show having such cartoonish designs.
Will you help me into my birthday suit?
Yeah, you better run!
Howdy do, fellow kids.
He opened the door and there was doggy dew everywhere.
That's nasty. I don't like nasty stuff.
Steven and Lars hang out with the cool kids, and Lars acts like a piece of shiitake mushrooms.
Now I'm never going to be friends with these guys, all because of your weird mom.
Now I know some people hate Lars. I love him, but even so, he's a gigantic asshole for saying this. You don't make fun of someone's dead mom, you fucking hobknocker. At least because of this, we get to see Steven be angry and serious for the first time ever. He normally doesn't get mad or cares about much, but for once he gets pissed the hell off. Anyway, the cool kids are pretty bland. I never cared for them that much, but for what they are, they're passable side characters that are fun every once in a while.
You are a toy!
Steven trades Onion a device that can multiply anything infinitely in exchange for a cheap shitty toy. This is easily one of the weakest and most disliked episodes from season 1, and everyone knows why. This is an Onion episode, and I'm pretty sure both conservatives and liberals can agree that Onion fucking sucks. He might have some occasional funny moments, but even so, he, as well as this episode, sucks werewolf diarrhea. Onion is basically like Sarah from The Edge or Angel from Pony. He's a little shit that does whatever he wants and gets away with anything. Yes, he is lonely, which sucks, but that doesn't excuse him for being an unlikable piece of poo-poo. He has a figure that Steven wants, and Steven offers him not one, not a few, but an entire bag of toys just for that one, yet he refuses. Instead, he trades this one guy for Steven's replicator wand, which is infuriating. Not only is Onion an asshole for abusing Steven like this, but Steven is obnoxious too. Pearl mentions this later, but why didn't Steven just replicate the ranger guy that Onion had? That would have prevented prevented Onion from nearly destroying the town. He even throws a bunch of cars at Garnet. Like, holy shit, how can anyone like this character? The ending is horrible too. Steven excuses Onion for nearly destroying the town and killing people because he feels bad that Onion is lonely. Wow, I wonder why Onion is so lonely. I really fucking wonder why no one wants to hang out with this little detestable asshole all day long. The toy he had that Steven wanted also turned out to be Steven's too, since Onion stole it. Jesus Christ, this episode is pissing me off so much. Onion sucks and Steven is a big fat baka. The first couple minutes are pretty much fine, but once Onion shows up, I feel like playing Russian roulette Ronnie McNutt style.
Hey, quit poking me with your thing.
Pearl gets stabbed by her hologram self and needs time to reform her body. Meanwhile, Steven hangs out with hologram Pearl and almost dies. Steven fighting hologram Pearl is alright, but it always bothered me how she just stands still when Steven looks away to find a weapon. I know it's a nitpick that doesn't matter, but if hologram Pearl is in advanced mode, shouldn't she constantly be swinging her sword around and never stopping? Anyway, this is the first time we see a gem poof away, forcing them to reform. They don't die, but they get so weak that they can't maintain their bodies for a limited time, which is a cool idea. Also, more importantly, when the episode starts, Steven watches a samurai anime sub, but then later on he watches it dubbed. Why did he go from sub to dub? Did he grow a brain and realize that dubs are better, or did the writers just not care? Who knows?
It's my movie, my movie.
Steven and Connie want to see Exploding Penguins 3, Total Annihilation, but instead Lion takes them to Rose's armory room. It's never explained why Lion takes them here, but I think it's because Steven said he's not trained very well, meaning he'd want to go and train someplace with weapons. Steven and Connie also stop this machine with Rose's sword and without the help of the other gems, so that's pretty cool, I guess. The gems accidentally break the pizza man's roof, which pisses him off, so Steven invites his family over to have fun. The pizza family is whatever. They aren't that interesting, likable, or deep, but they work for this episode. That being said, they really didn't need another one, yet they somehow got 2 episodes in season 3, which were back to back, and both sucked. Anyway, even though this isn't that important, it still shows that the townspeople get mad at the gems for destroying the town, even if they manage to save the day.
Get the fuck out of my room and play Minecraft! Garnet!
Ow.
You're not clouds!
All right, Steven.
Steven wants to be alone, so he opens his mom's room and stays in there. Steven usually wants to be around others, but for once he wants to be all alone. Rose's room is cool. Steven can do whatever the hell he wants except for eating food and talking to actual people. If he could eat food and install a real bathroom, he could live here for the rest of his life. Also, if he wanted to, couldn't he trap someone in here forever since he's the only one who can enter and exit it? It'd be pretty funny if the series ended with White Diamond coming to Earth and Steven tricks her into coming here and then locks her up forever. Anyway, the hyperbolic time chamber is cool, but what's not cool is Steven playing Final Fantasy on a Nintendo 64. That's super dumb. Garnet and Amethyst fuse and become Sugalite. However, they get out of control, so Pearl stops them. This might be a hot take, but Sugalite might just be my favorite fusion besides Garnet, obviously. She's this giant powerhouse of a being that's so powerful that she loses control and only thinks about power and destroying things. She's voiced by Nicki Minaj, which is weird since she doesn't sing here, but I guess that's a good thing because whenever I hear Nicki Minaj, my ears start bleeding. Anyway, I know some people hate Sugalite and even this episode too. Apparently, some people don't like her design and think it's ugly, which I don't know about you, but I think her design is fucking cool as hell. She's big, she has 5 eyes, she's got glasses, and she looks badass. But even if you think she looks ugly, then doesn't that match her personality since she's a power-hungry asshole? Also, I'm not joking when I say this, but apparently some people find this episode racist. That's because Pearl is the one who stopped Sugalite, and that's racist because she's white and Sugalite is black?
What the fuck?
Yeah, this fandom is wild and not in a good way. I'm sure there's gonna be some people that say I'm missing the point of certain episodes and that I'm racist, sexist, or something stupid like that. Then there's gonna be people on the other side who despise the show and say I'm being way too nice on it. But you know what? I don't really care. I'm just gonna give my own opinion and say whatever the hell I want. Anyway, Sugalite is cool, this episode is fun, I like it, so I guess that makes me racist.
Welcome to Sex on a Plane prank.
Steven, what are you...
Lars falls and pretends that he broke his back, which Sadie later finds out, gets pissed off, and then pranks him. Lars is a fucking asshole here. I know Lars is, Lars, but even so, he didn't have to be this mean to Sadie. He does burn his big mouth and breathes fire everywhere, so at least he got punished for being a goddamn piece of poo-poo. Anyway, I can see people not liking this since it's an early filler episode, as well as Lars being super scummy, but like I said, Lars is great. He's an asshole, but I love him.
It's time to stop!
Steven goes back in time and gathers 3 versions of himself in order to make a band. There's a good handful of episodes that aren't that important, but at least have something in them that prevent them from being skippable. This one, however, I feel comfortable calling filler since, well, not much happens that's really significant. Now, being filler doesn't automatically mean something is bad, but if it is, then it needs to be fun like the last one, and this really isn't. There's 4 Stevens here, and that's way too many Stevens for me. They aren't super obnoxious or anything, but they aren't really funny either. All the Stevens are also just versions of himself from the same day. It would have been cool if he went a full year into the past or maybe even the future. Imagine Steven from a few months later warning Steven about Peridot and Jasper. That'd be nice, but of course that didn't happen. Instead, we get a filler episode that has too many Stevens, gets sort of annoying, isn't funny, and also has wasted potential.
It's of utmost importance the pet that I get is something that's awesome and cool.
Steven frees an evil semen demon, trains it to be his pet, but then it dies. When this aired, this was basically just an episode about Steven trying to heal and befriend a corrupted monster, but after watching the whole series, it's kinda crazy going back to this and seeing just how important it is. This was the first instance of Steven trying to save a corrupted monster, or actually Gem. While he wasn't able to heal her, or even 2 seasons later, at least he did in the series finale. But judging it on its own merits, this is just a good fun episode about Steven trying to do the right thing, even though the Gems don't agree with him. Also, I know the monster didn't die and only poofed away, but still, she basically died to save Steven, which is pretty dark. Steven tells Connie the story of how he healed Amethyst's cracked gem. This is where we find out that Steven has healing powers, which are broken, but at least he has trouble controlling and using them. This is also where we learn that gems can crack but still not shatter. In this stage, they can still sort of function, but they're basically on the verge of death since they can't do much. Steven heals Connie's vision at the end too, which could represent and hint at her living a new life helping Steven and the gems. But I like my own theory, which is that the artist just got tired of drawing her glasses all the time, so they had the writers get rid of them.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Is this not the most perfect kingdom of them all?
Steven gets a mirror, finds out a gem is inside it, and sets her free. This is the first big story episode since Lapis gets introduced, but for some goddamn reason, this is split into 2 episodes. Ever since 2010, Cartoon Network got a massive hate boner for 30-minute time slots, so now everything was only 15 minutes, which sucks. Give creators a full 22 minutes to tell their stories. I don't know why they started doing this. Also, having a full 30 minutes doesn't mean every episode needs to be 22 minutes either. Plenty of shows like Kids Next Door, Powerpuff Girls, and The Eds all had these time slots, yet most of their episodes were still only 11 minutes long. They had full episodes every so often, but again, they were still mainly 11 minutes. Also, despite this in the next episode basically being 2 parts of one regular episode, they have different names too. Like, what the fuck? If you're not going to have a full time slot, then at the very least, label them as Part 1 and Part 2. Why name them as if they're separate episodes when they clearly aren't? This is a big annoyance I have with modern cartoons, and it pisses me off so much because there's no reason for it to be like this. Anyway, as for the actual episode, it's pretty exciting finally seeing a new gem after half a season. We don't see her until the very end since this is split into 2 episodes, and that's fucking bullshit. Anyway, this also has the scene where Steven tells Garnet to hit the Quan and slaps her glasses off her face, which is crazy. But yeah, definitely the best episode so far, except for how it's split into 2 fucking parts. After Lapis gets set free, everyone including Greg and Connie go to stop her. This is the mid-season finale and it definitely feels like it. There's a brand new gem that's threatening to take all the water in Bitch City and she's even super powerful too. Steven takes out his shield, which he hasn't done since the very first episode. He heals Lapis, she flies away, and Bitch City is saved thanks to the Powerpuff Girls. This is great. It has everything that makes the show good in it and it doesn't even have a song with lyrics either. It's visually one of the best looking episodes, it's a great mid-season finale, and it helps show that the series had potential to be something special.
My leg!
In the last episode, Greg broke his leg, so Steven tries to heal it but fails. So Greg starts hanging out with Steven at his house, but then, uh-oh, stinky. It turns out that his leg wasn't broken and he was lying since he misses being with his son. Greg is great, but he's awful here. He's selfish, he lies to his son, and somehow acts even less mature than Steven too. This is tough to get through, and not even in a cringy way either. It's just frustratingly bad and poorly written. I get that this came after a big story episode, and for the time was the best episode, but even so, how do you follow up with this train wreck? Not only that, but after some consideration, I think this is worse than Onion Trade, and that one already sucked ass. So wow, congratulations Steven Universe, you managed to follow up your best episode with your all-time worst. I don't think I've ever seen that before. But yeah, not much else to say. I can see if people find this to be somewhat watchable, but outright liking it is hard to understand. Steven helps Pearl build a ship that'll let them travel to space, but it breaks and Steven almost dies. Actually, wait, how the hell is he alive? Or more importantly, how is he breathing in space? The roof of the ship is off. How the Sigma are you breathing in outer space? Anyway, it's a nice Pearl episode that shows how much she misses space. There's also this great moment where Pearl realizes that she can't go to space and that Steven is more important to her now. She doesn't say a word, she just hugs Steven and the two leave the ship right before it blows up. It's short but still solid, and definitely the highlight of the episode. Pearl and Amethyst accidentally pop a bubble, so they and Steven make a secret team and rebubble the gem without Garnet knowing. Just like Tiger Millionaire, this is another instance where no one is really in the wrong. It's Amethyst's fault for popping it, but it's also Pearl's fault for taking the bubble too. Also, Garnet can shapeshift and grow her hands super big, and this is the only time she ever does this. Pretty sure all the crystal gems can shapeshift, but not to this extent except for Amethyst maybe. If Garnet could do this, then why does she never use it again? Does this drain her energy really fast, or does she just prefer punching normally instead? Who knows? Steven, Sadie, and Lars go to Epstein's Island, but get stuck there since they can't find the warp pad back. We find out later that Sadie knew where it was all along though, since she purposely hid it to keep Lars on the island, which is kind of messed up. Some people hate Sadie for this, but other people hate Lars for, being Lars. What Sadie did wasn't right, but her reason for doing it makes sense and she had good intentions too. But at the same time, Lars is right that she willingly trapped them on Epstein's Island, even though they all could have died. Then again, as soon as something bad like this happened, she realized that leaving was her best option. I'm not mad at Sadie for doing this, and I'm not mad at Lars for being a dick. I understand both sides here. The only one I'm mad at is Steven for watching them make out. Like, come on, man, that's just fucked up.
They pit us mammals against each other with elections, sports, and anime message boards. We spend so much time fighting over dubs or subs.
Steven hangs out with Rocknaldo, who tries to convince him about all his conspiracy game theories. Many people hate this episode, as well as Rocknaldo in general, and I'll agree that this is bad, but I wouldn't say it's outright terrible. That's because I don't hate Rocknaldo, but I also don't like him either. Rocknaldo is such a unique type of character, because in most episodes, I actually really like him. He's this crazy conspiracy theorist that's so stupid and over the top that it's funny, or at least every once in a while it is. In most episodes, Rocknaldo is a background character that's on screen for like 30 seconds or less and only has a few lines. Those lines are usually funny, and sometimes he doesn't even need to talk too. There's this one part in Reunited where the giant cluster hand emerges and Rocknaldo walks up to it with his sword out without saying anything. It's really quick, but it's super funny too, and that's how he is throughout most of the show. That being said, when he gets an entire episode dedicated to himself, that's when his character sort of fails for me. Sure, there are funny moments, but when you see Rocknaldo for a full episode, even if it's just 11 minutes, his humor gets old. He starts to get annoying and unlikable, especially in this one where he ties up Steven since he believes he's a snake person or something. This isn't his worst appearance or episode. That'd go to Rocknaldo, which might just be the worst episode in the entire series, but I'll get to that much later on. Anyway, I can see why people hate this in Rocknaldo, mainly if they don't find him funny at all. But honestly, this isn't that bad. I'd take this over Onion Trade and House Guest any year of the day. Also, this is the episode that showed off Steven Tag, which looks really fun. I'd say I wish we got a full episode about that, but we did in future, so, yeah.
I wonder what's for dinner.
The children are playing swords. Sorry, playing with swords. They're bleeding. Oh no, they are dead. Don't call again.
Connie's parents want to see Steven's parents for dinner, but since Steven doesn't have a mom, he decides to have all the gems act like one instead. You'd think Steven would just have Garnet act like his mom since she's the leader, but no, that's not what happens. Instead, all 3 gems fuse and become Alexandrite, which was very surprising. Normally, a big reveal like this would happen in a season finale or when the stakes are super high, but no, this is when we see this massive fusion. It's such an underwhelming reveal, but I actually really like it. Fusion requires all 3 gems to be in sync, so this shows how much they all care for Steven since they're fusing for something as low stakes as this. The dinner scene is great. It's no Shrek 2 by any means, but it's still cringy and funny.
What is going on here?
He was so ugly that everyone died. The end.
Holy hop! His power is off the charts!
Steven imagines what Garnet did for the whole day, and this might be a hot take, but I can't stand this episode at all. This is 110% filler that adds nothing, but like I already said before, that isn't automatically a bad thing. The problem with this is that nothing feels meaningful or important whatsoever. Garnet is the only established character that's in it, besides maybe Rocknaldo, I guess. It's really jarring seeing an episode have only one recognizable character in it, and none of the new ones are memorable either. Maybe I'd care more for them if they were going to be recurring characters throughout the series, but like I said, this is filler, so why should I care? This is also the first episode that doesn't have Steven in it, except for the first and last 30 seconds, which as a premise, I actually like. It's different seeing an episode not be told through Steven's perspective, which is something I wish the series did more of. I really wish this wasn't told by Steven, but instead it was just a regular episode that was told through Garnet's point of view. That'd be distinct and interesting, but for some reason the staff has a hate boner against this idea since everything needs to be seen by Steven. Could you imagine if we got a full episode of the gems fighting off some super powerful gem without Steven being there? It would show just how dangerous their missions could be, but no, we don't get that. Anyway, visually this looks great and is really the only thing keeping me from rating it a 1 out of 10. Besides that, most of the jokes don't land, it's just a bunch of lame anime references, easily one of the most boring episodes in the show, and I don't give a single shit. I understand it's just an episode that's meant to be dumb and fun, and I can see people finding it okay, but for me, it didn't work at all.
Look at this photograph. It's watermelon. Inside a watermelon.
Steven, is the camera getting all of this? Sweet! Oh!
Steven brings to life a bunch of watermelons that look like him, but then they start attacking the gems, but then they say, I'm about to head out. This is another one that's surprisingly sort of important later on, which is weird since this episode isn't that great. I'm not that interested in a bunch of watermelons coming to life, even if it shows Steven using one of his new powers. There's some fun moments, but overall it's just sort of meh, not bad, not good, just kind of forgettable.
Coming soon to own on video and DVD.
Me.
Steven goes into Lion's Mane and finds a VHS tape that his mom made for him. This is the first time we ever see and hear Rose besides her picture, so this is a pretty big moment for both Steven and the viewer. The first half is fun, but obviously the highlight is the ending. It's easily one of the best moments in the series up to this point. Also, it's kind of crazy seeing Bismuth bubbled here. I never noticed this until skimming through the episode again. Rose's sword gets used again in about 10 episodes, but Bismuth didn't happen for a full 2 seasons. Not sure if they already had Bismuth planned out by this point, but either way, it ended up working.
I'm gay.
I'm a lesbian.
I am actually pansexual.
I am transgender.
I'm Rick Harrison, and this is my pawn shop.
That's 2 kids. I'm out.
Steven and Connie fuse, and then they go to a dance party. This is a pretty important episode since this is the first time Steven fuses with someone, and this also marks the first time a human has ever fused with a gem before. It's interesting seeing Stefani as a character, mainly because we haven't seen the mindset of what goes on in a fusion's head. It's basically like one person is talking even though they're 2 people. That being said, they can still talk to each other as if they're 2 different people and have a conversation. It's very complex and difficult to describe, but it's a really cool premise and I'm glad the series explored a lot. Also, this is going to get really weird, but apparently Stefani is a combination of both Steven and Connie's ages. Stefani is still her own person, but at the same time, she's still made up of 2 kids, so I hope none of you guys get any ideas from EDP. Don't know why their ages add together, but maybe it's because they're both humans? Either way, this raises some questions, like what would happen if Steven and Connie fused when they were both 50? Would they turn into Stefani but then die of old age? Can they even die of old age, and if Stefani dies, do Steven and Connie die too? Or does Stefani or Steven Steven poof away but Connie ends up being fine? I've got no idea, and I also don't know why someone I watched started ranting about Republicans in West Virginia while talking about this episode. Like I said before, this fandom is really fucking weird, so yeah. Steven believes that he saw something in one of the warp streams, however none of the gems believe him, even though it turned out to be Best Girl Peridot. This is a really good use of the whole character being right about something, but everyone else doesn't believe them plotline. It's been done before in other shows, but this works great here since for once Steven is the one who takes something seriously. Normally the gems are the ones who get mad at Steven for dicking around, but this time it's the complete opposite. It shows that even though it's still the first season, he's developed a decent amount since the first few episodes. Not only that, but this is also very important since it introduces Best Girl Peridot. We don't know a lot about her, but that's fine since it leaves you wondering what's going to happen to her as well as the gems in the next episodes.
The Fitness Gram Pacer test is a multi-stage aerobic capacity test.
Congratulations!
Congratulations!
Steven finds out that the first mission he went on was just a test, which pisses him off, so he wants the gems to give him an actual test. They do, but it turns out it was rigged since he wasn't able to lose or get hurt, which he finds out, but instead of yelling at them, he hides the fact that he knows. This is a great moment for Steven, especially after the last episode where he was the most serious character there. I don't think I would have lied like that, but I guess Steven learned that lying is okay every once in a while as long as it's for a good reason. Not only is the scene great for Steven, but also the gems too, since we find out how lost they are without Rose. She was their leader, and while Garnet is still good as one, she can't compare to Rose. Even Pearl and Amethyst don't know how to raise or handle Steven since they've never done something like this before. Most of the episode is good, but the last few minutes really carry it and make it one of the better ones. This changes how you view the gems and even Steven too.
I can see the future!
Okay, we're done.
Garnet tells Steven that she has the power to see the future, which scares him since he believes there's endless ways for him to get hurt and die. It's obvious that Steven is going to learn that he shouldn't be afraid of everything since he's the one who decides how to live his life. That being said, the way the message is told with Garnet apologizing to him is done so well. Garnet admits that she probably shouldn't have told Steven, but did so anyway because she wanted them to get closer. Just like the last episode, most of it is fun, but the ending is what really makes it so memorable.
We're off on the road to Rhode Island.
Amethyst and Steven go on a trip and she shows Steven where she was born, which was in the kindergarten. This is a bombshell of an episode. We find out where and how Amethyst was made. Apparently there's a bunch of other Amethysts like herself too. There was a gem war where they fought off a bunch of evil gems. Amethyst fights Pearl, then they both talk and make up. Amethyst cries about being made since she thinks she's just a big mistake. There's a shit ton going on here in just 11 minutes. Some people hate Amethyst, but even haters admit that this episode slaps harder than Will Smith. I've always liked Amethyst, but this made me enjoy her like 3 times more. You get to see why she acts the way she does and how much she suffers and hides it from everyone else. This has everything that makes the series great, except for this one short song because Amethyst's actor isn't really the best at singing.
I don't care about what all the others say. Well, I guess there are some things that will just never go away.
No, little Billies, this is not midnight.
Steven, Sadie, and Lars go to Rocknaldo's house to watch a scary movie, but then the house comes to life for some reason. This is one of the most bizarre episodes, mainly because it feels like an episode that should be bad, but also good at the same time. Rocknaldo is a main character here, yet he really isn't annoying, unlikable, or even overstays his welcome. Maybe it's because he feels like an actual human being here and not just a one-dimensional character since he likes Sadie and is angry at Lars for being a dick. I wish the series focused more on this aspect of his character because he could have been one of the best side characters. This also has Lars and Sadie, and their episodes tend to be some of the more enjoyable ones. However, despite all these things, I still don't love it, and I think one reason is because of Steven. He's not annoying or anything, he just doesn't do much to merit being here. He does save Lars from dying, but besides that, he's only here because he has to. I feel like this would have worked much better if this only focused on Rocknaldo, Sadie, and Lars. Maybe this could have been a flashback episode from a year ago, or before they all met Steven. Another pet peeve is that this is a horror episode, yet it's not scary whatsoever. It doesn't even make me feel uncomfortable uncomfortable like some of the episodes from the Eds. The flashback of Rocknaldo and Lars is great, and it's definitely the best part, even if it's really dumb and convenient how they're able to view it. There's just this gem in the wall that recorded everything, and of course as soon as Steven touches it, the flashback starts. Again, it's only like this because Steven has to see it, which seems really forced and stupid. This should be a regular flashback that either Rocknaldo or Lars tells because it's something that says a lot about their relationship, especially Lars. The reason Lars tears up the photo is because he's upset that other people make fun of Rocknaldo, who's clearly one of, if not his best friend. But because he's selfish and scared, he starts thinking about only himself, which is why he acts the way he does throughout the series. It's such an important and great moment for him, but it sucks that it's told in such a dumb way.
I think you can stop being such a dink to Rocknaldo.
Also, I think Steven is saying dink, but it sounds like he's saying dick, dick, dick!
This wall tastes like
dick!
Greg needs to drive Steven and Connie home during a snowstorm. Meanwhile, Garnet gives Steven her power of future vision. He sees multiple different versions of the day and how they could all go wrong. It's a fun idea, especially since we get to see how exactly Garnet's future vision works. I have to say though, Garnet must be fucked up in the head after seeing so many different scenarios where everyone dies.
What you doing?
Steven?
Pearl, no! What the fuck?
What's on TV? Happy New Year, Steven. How's my volume?
It's low.
Greg and Amethyst hang out in a storage shed and binge Black Butler. They both then lose track of time and Greg wants to leave, but then Amethyst turns into Rose Quartz? Like, holy shit, this is really fucked up. You turn into Greg's dead wife and Steven's dead mom? Not even Lars would do something this cruel, and he's already a gigantic... Amethyst is lonely without Rose and likes hanging out with Greg, but even so, you can't forgive her for doing something this awful. I love this scene and this episode, but Amethyst is easily at her absolute worst here. She doesn't even get punished or yelled at afterward. She just helps clean up Greg's shed. That's it. You'd think Steven and Greg would yell at her Andrew Tate style, but no, they don't. As messed up as Amethyst is for doing this, it's up to Greg and Steven whether or not they should yell at her. Like, it's their mom and wife. If they really don't care that much, then it's up to them. I know she learned her lesson, but even so, Amethyst is an asshole. Also, the first time I watched it, I thought she had feelings for Greg and was jealous of Rose, but after rewatching it, I don't think that's the case.
There appears to be an infestation of Stevens in the kindergarten.
Peridot keeps sending her drones to Earth, so the gems follow them to the kindergarten where they see Peridot and declare war on her. This is yet another major episode, since like I said, Peridot is now aware that there are still gems left on Earth. This results in her and Jasper coming to Earth, but that doesn't happen for another few episodes. This is all build up, which is fine because for what it is, it's pretty good.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Fuck you! Do you like my sword?
Pearl finds out that Rose kept secrets from her, which upsets her since she believed Rose told her everything about herself. This is a fan favorite episode. It does a lot for Pearl as a character since it shows how confused and angry she is over Rose lying to her. She's known Rose the longest out of anyone in the show, yet she still kept secrets from her. This works even better after looking back at it again, since Pearl even knows that Rose is Pink Diamond. Not even Garnet and Amethyst knew that, yet Rose still had her own secrets. Pearl might be my least favorite of the three main gems, but even so, this episode is great, especially this moment.
Well, I think you're pretty great.
The last minute is then a montage of them with no dialogue. The song is awesome. It's literally perfect.
The Book of Sega Genesis.
Steven and Connie read a book series and Connie doesn't like the ending, so they go into Rose's room and come up with a new one. This is easily the weakest Connie episode so far, and I wouldn't even say I like it. It is nice to see them both just stick around and not do much for a full episode, and it's nice to see Rose's room get used again too. But besides that, it's sort of boring until the last act. Definitely one of the most forgettable episodes so far.
It's a stone, Luigi. You didn't make it.
The Wailing Stone is receiving a message, but the gems can't figure out what it means, so Greg helps them out. For once, Greg is able to help them with something important, even if it's just to look at a 30-second long video. More importantly, how did Lapras record and send this, and how was she able to send it only to the gems? Wouldn't Peridot and Jasper find out about this, or did she send this message before she got captured? Actually, wait, how did Lapras get to Homeworld so fast in the first place? I'm guessing she took a warp pad there, but then left and got captured by Jasper afterwards? It's sort of hard to follow, even after after watching the whole series, but I guess it makes sense. Anyway, it's good for what it is. It's another build-up episode for debatably the all-time best episode in the series.
Hello there, young universe. Any of your sisters home?
My sisters?
Your caretakers, you know? The tall one, the purple one, the hot one.
Steven hangs out with Mayor Bluey and learns that Bluey lies because he's a politician and that's all they do. I get that this episode makes Steven understand that the gems don't tell him everything because they don't want him to worry, which I do enjoy. But the whole Mayor Bluey plotline I really don't care about. It's not bad or anything, it's just a bit boring, and Bluey isn't that interesting or likable of a character either. The last minute where the gems admit that they're scared is great, but even this moment can't carry the rest of it. Oh boy, here's another one that's basically a two-part episode, although I'll be grouping them together as one. I mean, not for nothing, there's not even any credits at the end of it, which just shows that, yeah, this is part one of a two-part episode. Anyway, the residents of Bitch City evacuate as Jasper and Paradox come down to Earth and Steven goes to fight them along with the gems. The first half is really good since it shows how much Greg wants to protect Steven, even though he wants to be there to help protect his city. The second half is where it's at though, since after a decent amount of waiting, we finally get to see Paradox return, as well as Jasper, the friendly ghost. Jasper doesn't fuck around. She took Garnet down in one hit and then captures them all. This then brings us to the second half, which, like I said before, is easily considered to be one of the absolute best episodes. I won't say anything just yet, but this is 100% going to be in the top 5. Besides wishing it was longer, this is basically perfect from beginning to end. The stakes are the highest they've ever been. We find out Garnet is a fusion. She fights Jasper while singing Stronger Than You, which is one of the best songs in the show. They all crash land back on Earth, and it ends with Lapis and Jasper fusing, with Lapis forcing them to live in the bottom of the ocean. What an episode. What a finale to this arc, and Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. I can't believe how good this is. It's going to be very difficult to top this, but I guess we'll see if anything ever does.
I don't need friends. They disappoint me.
After coming back from space, Steven struggles to tell Connie about everything that happened since he doesn't want her to get hurt. It's hard to follow up after a big story episode, especially after one that's a 10 out of 10, but this is exactly what this episode should have been. It's an aftermath episode that shows how Steven realizes just how dangerous things are going to get for him and how he doesn't want Connie to get involved too. It's not nearly as exciting as the last two. It might not have insane plot developments, but it's such an important episode for Steven.
Steven! What's going on?
Breakfast! Breakfast!
Steven hangs out with the cool kids and they find one of Paradox's drones. This is sort of another aftermath episode where Steven is still trying to take everything in that just happened. But instead of worrying about life, the cool kids make him relax, even though it results in him almost getting killed by Garnet. The cool kids aren't anything special, but even so, this is one of their weakest appearances, especially since, again, they almost got Steven killed. At least Jenny had the balls to jump in front of Garnet right before she was going to punch Steven. If Garnet wasn't fast enough, she could have punched Jenny's head off. Now that would be epic, but of course this is a kid show and that's not gonna happen because
9/11.
It's time to have some fun with Uncle Samson.
Alright, so we're finally done with the first season, and season 2 starts off with, an Uncle Grandpa crossover. Now apparently this, as well as the next few episodes, are labeled as season 1 episodes, but like I said before, I'm going off the DVD box set. Anyway, this is one of the most hated episodes, and yeah, I definitely agree. First off, I've only seen maybe 2 or 3 episodes of Uncle Grandpa, if that, and I didn't like what I saw. The series looked annoying, unfunny, and way too stupid, even for me. So right away, I did not care for him or anything related to his series whatsoever. Also, just a reminder that this is a crossover between 2 series, yet this feels extremely underwhelming. Both series had been around for not even 2 full years, so it seems strange why they would get a crossover together. Also, this is a crossover, yet this is only a regular 11-minute episode. Remember the Jimmy Timmy Power Hours and how all 3 of those were an hour, or I guess 45 minutes long each? They felt special, especially since both series were very popular, but this just feels like a regular episode. Guess I shouldn't be complaining since I hate this so much, and if it were any longer, it might have been the worst episode in the series. The humor is mostly bad and falls flat besides a small handful.
How is this even possible?
Don't worry, bro. None of this is canon. But this is...
Most of the time, the jokes are either unfunny or they're slightly funny, but not enough for me to laugh or think, hey, that was funny, I guess. The writing also feels very different too, since I'm assuming some of the writers from Uncle Grandpa were brought in. The gems seem much more exaggerated and loud, which I really don't like. If this was still written by the Steven team, then wow, it really doesn't feel like it at all. Uncle Grandpa is annoying, the humor sucks, it's nothing but a big waste of time. Please don't watch it. Greg tells Steven the story of how he met his mother. I've been waiting so long for an episode like this. I've always wondered what it was like for Greg to meet Rose for the first time. We get to see him as well as the other gems when they were about 20 years younger, which is really cool. The only nitpicks are that Greg's manager is nothing but a big asshole, and for an episode as important as this, I feel like it should have been 22 minutes long. We do get other flashbacks later on, but even so, this is the first, so come on, Cartoon Network, stop having a hate boner for 30-minute time slots, you hobknockers.
Daddy, no!
Daddy, yes!
Whoa! What the heck? Huh? Whoa, weird. Some kind of extraterrestrial space dad guitar shirt?
Steven, and I think his name is Buck. Well, I don't care. He's a bitch, so I'm going to call him Bitch Bluey. Anyway, Steven and him give away shirts of Steven's drawings of his dad, but Bitch is a bitch and tells Steven that his drawing sucks, so then Steven makes shirts of Bitch's drawing of his dad that he made years ago. People don't like this one, and yeah, it's really stupid, but nothing offensive. Bitch Bluey sucks. I never cared for him before, but this made me outright dislike him. Thank Donald Trump he never got another episode after this. He's a jerk to Steven, he makes fun of his drawing, and yeah, he sucks. The only saving grace is that they made Mayor Bluey a more likable character. He has a soft spot for his son and loves a drawing he made for him when he was a kid, which is really nice, but besides that, it's bad. Jamie the mailman falls in love with Garnet but gets rejected because he's a stupid ass white boy. I don't care for Jamie as a character, but I do think it's interesting to see someone fall in love with a gem. I know Greg has already done this, but obviously Garnet isn't going to go out with Jamie. He might not be anything special, but Garnet casually rejecting him without caring is pretty funny.
Start with the letter N.
Okay, what next?
The letter O. Period.
So, N-O... period? Oh.
The end. Forever and even after that.
And as it happens, I still have 2 transformations beyond this one.
How long's this thing been in here?
Look, Steven, I'm a pachyderm.
Oh, and there's a prize inside.
Amethyst keeps poofing and reforming into a new body since she can't stand the way she looks. We already know that Amethyst doesn't like the way she is since we just found this out in On the Run, which was an amazing episode. But this sort of feels like a rehash of that. Still fine and all, but also feels like it's not saying much else new. Her new design is nice, and it's different to see an episode focus on Steven, Garnet, and only Amethyst. But again, it's sort of like On the Run done worse and without the big plot reveals too. Pearl teaches Connie how to use a sword, however she also tells her that she should sacrifice herself to save Steven, which definitely isn't the best lesson for her. Steven says that he'll protect her if she protects him, so I guess they both learn that using protection is good. Anyway, the ending where they both work together to stop Pearl is nice, even if they still don't stop her. This is a great episode for all 3 of them. Connie learns to fight, Steven sticks up for Connie, and Pearl learns not to teach children to delete System 32. Also, this has the song Do It For Her, which is really good, easily one of the series' better songs. More importantly, at the time of recording this, the official YouTube page for the song has the video title Do It For Here instead of Her, which is embarrassing. The video has been up for 2 years and they still haven't changed it, so that's super duper funny.
What is going full force?
Ouch, 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 ouch.
Rocknaldo makes a documentary about the crystal gems and wonders whether or not it's good to have them around. This is another Rocknaldo episode and it has the same problems as the first one, which is that he gets old and annoying quickly, even though there are some funny moments.
I'm covering the story.
Cover up? What cover up?
But Mayor...
Security!
Hey, you can't suppress the truth!
The documentary and camera point of view is unique, even if other shows like Powerpuff Girls already did an episode like this before. We definitely didn't need another Rocknaldo episode unless it was going to be like Horror Club, but at least this one is unique, even if it's still bad.
Are the other ones with you?
Everyone goes back to the kindergarten and they find out that Homeworld shattered a bunch of gems and then fused them together, creating these ugly zombie monsters. This might just be the darkest episode in the whole series. I mean, we find out that gems were killed, fused together, and then brought back to life to create zombie soldiers. That's pretty dark and fucked up even for a kid's show, and more importantly, we see how horrified Garnet is by this. We've already seen Amethyst and Pearl break down before, but now for the first time we see Garnet break character and almost unfuse because of how scared she is. She also talks to herself, which again is something she's never done before, which just goes to show how devastated this has made her.
I can talk. I'd love to talk. I'm not talking this damn thing you ever saw.
Greg finds out that Steven and Connie confused, so he tells them the story of how he first learned about fusion from the gems. It's another flashback episode, which is weird because we just got one like 7 episodes ago, but I'm not complaining because all of them are great. I love seeing Greg, Rose, and the other gems back before Steven was born. That's probably why these episodes feel so special, since they don't include Steven at all besides the first and last minutes. I'm not trying to shit on Steven, it's just irritating that he always has to be in the show, even when episodes would work better without him. Anyway, great episode, especially at the end where Greg and Rose talk about their relationship.
Steven's right. You should stay here and relax. But I'm going. Because I'm always relaxed.
Steven has dreams about Lapis and how she's struggling to keep Jasper under control. It's kind of crazy how Lapis has been able to keep Jasper fused with herself for a full year now. I guess she's really that much stronger than Jasper, or maybe Jasper is still weak from getting her butt whooped by Garnet. Either way, it's cool to see them both again, even if they're barely in it. Thankfully, the rest of the episode is good too. In fact, it's got some pretty funny moments.
Pearl, thank you so much. For fixing my van!
I've got the power! Nothing. More nothing. Ah, there she is!
There he is!
Garnet and Pearl fuse into Sardonyx to stop Peridot from sending a signal to Yellow Diamond. However, once they do, Pearl comes back and rebuilds a tower they destroyed since she wants to fuse with Garnet because she feels so much more powerful. Sardonyx has a cool design, but as a character, I never really cared for her that much. Sugalate and Alexandrite look so much cooler. Anyway, this shows why Pearl is the worst crystal gem. She wasted everyone's time twice by pretending that Peridot rebuilt the tower. She cared more about fusing with Garnet instead of actually finding Peridot and saving the Earth. With all that being said though, this does make for a good arc for Pearl since Garnet ends up being mad at her for multiple episodes. This isn't something that gets resolved at the end here since Garnet is still pissed at her and the episode just ends.
Medic, I like husband hotel. Husband hotel. More like husband homotel.
Greg, Steven, and Garnet go on a trip, but Garnet unfuses since Ruby and Sapphire argue over what to do about Pearl. Even though we've seen Ruby and Sapphire unfuse in Jailbreak, it's completely different here since they unfuse due to them arguing and being out of sync. This is such a great idea. Garnet's relationship has always been stable and perfect, but for once we see Ruby and Sapphire fight. Sapphire wants to forgive Pearl quickly since it would be better for the team, but Ruby wants to stay angry at her since Pearl abused fusion, which is what their relationship is. Both of them have good points, but honestly, I think Ruby is a bit more right here, mainly because of how selfish Pearl was. She literally had no reason to act the way she did. She just did it because she wanted to since she's an asshole. Anyway, Ruby and Sapphire have great chemistry when they're together, or I guess when they're apart actually. Sapphire is fun, but Ruby is hilarious. I've already said this before, but the show isn't that strong when it comes to comedy. However, sometimes it can just nail jokes or a character, and Ruby is one of them. Her expressions, performance, and lines are great. Literally every time she opens her mouth, I start laughing.
Garnet likes to eat sometimes.
Well, Garnet's not here!
They see his mom has got it going on.
I'm ready! What's she getting ready for?
Oh, Yellowtail. I think... Oh, it's happening!
Wait, but what's going on?
Here he comes!
Huh? Happy birthday, Onion! Is this you being born?
What the fuck? Steven and Amethyst go to Onion's house and it turns out that Onion's mom and Amethyst are good friends. Those scenes are great and I wish we got more of them, but unfortunately half the episode focuses on Steven and Onion. Now to be fair, these scenes aren't bad. At best they're okay, and even Onion is tolerable here too. He even gives Steven a bunch of his toys at the end, which was nice, but it still doesn't make up for me hating him in every other episode. But yeah, decent episode that could have been great if it focused only on Amethyst and Onion's MILF mother.
He's gonna take you back to the past.
Steven and Jamie perform a play on how Mayor Bluey's great-grandpa founded Bitch City. Jamie and Bluey aren't very interesting characters, but at least it's cool to see how Bitch City was founded. It's not that important of an episode, but again, it does add some lore to the series. It's fairly entertaining, and overall, it's okay.
Okay.
It's a trap!
The gems try to catch Peridot, meanwhile Garnet and Pearl finally make up. You can tell just how badly Pearl has felt for being a poopy head, and you can see just how hard she's been trying to capture Peridot too. As bad of a person as she was, her apology is great, and seeing the two of them fuse again is nice too. Unfortunately, Peridot manages to get away, but at least Pearl and Garnet made up, which in some ways is more important.
Doctor, give me the news.
Connie's mom takes away her sword, so Connie and Steven go to the hospital to get it back. However, when they get there, they have to fight some corrupted gems. This is when Connie finally grows a pair of balls and tells and even shows her mom that she's been training with Steven and now knows how to use a sword. This also showcases how far the two of them have come since they both stopped multiple gems without the help of the others. Guess that's one of the main reasons why Connie's mom let her continue fighting with Steven, since she's clearly able to handle herself to a certain extent. Sadie's mom finds out that her daughter wants to sing, so she dresses her up and makes her look like... Sadie ends up yelling at her mom, which is sort of hard to watch and a bit undeserved. Her mom was only trying to help Sadie do what she said she wanted to do, but Sadie never spoke up and said she's putting way too much effort into helping her. Honestly, I feel more bad for Sadie's mom. How was she supposed to know Sadie was bothered by her always trying to help her out? Anyway, fine episode, but this is also one that's sort of weird since this is entirely about Sadie and her mom. Meanwhile, Steven is thrown in here just because, why not?
Yes! Feel my unbridled rage!
After 20 episodes, the gems finally catch Peridot, but once they do, Steven releases her since he wants to talk with her. This is so satisfying, but also weird to watch since Peridot finally gets captured, but is then immediately set free. I'm not complaining though, since she is the show's best character, and nearly every scene she's in is great, or at least made better since she's in it. The only nitpick I have is that Steven uses a toothbrush that's been on the ground, which is disgusting! Steven hangs out with Peridot, and then he brings her to the kindergarten where she finds out that the cluster will emerge and destroy the planet soon. We saw this a bit in the last episode, but here we get to see Peridot learn from and trust Steven slowly. This, or at least the last episode, was the beginning of her arc, and I'm just gonna say this now, this is definitely the best arc in the series. Peridot is hilarious. She's a genuinely great and well-written character, and she's awesome every time she's on screen. Many of the next episodes are going to be rated very highly, and they all stem from Peridot being Peridot.
Don't she know it? Don't you know it's just the way we animals roll?
There's a remote chance something useful could be inside this primitive image cube.
Peridot and Pearl build machines in Greg's family's barn, and then they beat each other up. This is a much more relaxing episode since there aren't major story reveals, and this is the third one with Peridot being with the gems, so now her appearance isn't as impactful. Instead, this is about Peridot learning to respect and work with Pearl, which helps further develop her. This also introduces the barn, which is where the next batch of episodes take place, and it's a nice change of scenery.
Those round appendages on your machine could be useful for something.
They're called wheels.
Hey, man, that's not cool.
I could call her two things. Two clods. Walking around like she's one clod.
Peridot, Amethyst, and Steven go to the kindergarten, and she pisses off Amethyst by explaining that she's defective since she was made incorrectly. Yet another Peridot episode, and this time she learns that sometimes saying certain things can grind people's gears. This also drops some lore about Amethyst since we find out that she's notably shorter than she should be since her hole was made too close to the ground. Not sure if the writers thought of this before when we first saw her hole, but either way, it's a cool addition to Amethyst's background.
You saved me!
Garnet tells Steven the story of how Ruby and Sapphire met and fused for the first time. This is a weird spot to put this episode. It's sort of thrown in here just because why not, but I guess the writers didn't want to have 5 Peridot episodes in a row. Anyway, everyone loves this. It reveals how Garnet was made and even how she met Rose and Pearl too. We also see Blue Diamond, or I guess are aware that she exists, and she hides behind a curtain the entire time like a bitch.
Happy birthday!
The gems take a break from building the drill to destroy the cluster since they're busy celebrating Steven's birthday. This is another one that's sort of placed in a weird spot since we're not focusing on this giant gem monster that's going to blow up the earth. They do quickly say that Peridot will continue building the drill on her own, so it's not really that big of a deal. Anyway, it's also weird how we get another birthday episode. However, it's sort of the opposite of the first one. Instead of Steven feeling old, this time he feels too young since he believes he hasn't grown up very much and ends up turning into a baby.
Let's go.
Taking a pit stop from the story can be frustrating, but this definitely deserves to be here. It further develops Steven and reuses an old idea, but in a new and interesting way.
How do you like that, Obama? I pissed on the moon, you idiot!
Hey, look over here. I think it's a door. Yep. We on the moon.
Everyone goes to the moon so they can find out where exactly the cluster is located. We get to see some wall paintings of the diamonds, which is cool, but more importantly, Peridot goons for the diamonds and their plan to destroy Earth. Despite her getting along with the gems and even singing for the first time too, she's still so stubborn and loyal to them. Also, they're on the moon, so that's pretty cool.
I'm pissing on the moon!
It's not over. Everybody betrayed me. I fed up with this world.
Steven finds out that Peridot wants to contact Yellow Diamond. However, when she does, she says the unthinkable.
What do you know about the Earth?
Apparently more than you Claude.
Holy fucking shit, she just called Space Hitler the C word. This moment is fantastic. After spending so much time with Steven and the gems, Peridot realizes that Earth is worth protecting. She calls her leader, who's up to this point the most powerful and feared character in the show, a fucking Claude. Not only is this an amazing, believable, and satisfying moment for Peridot, but this is also terrifying too. Who knows what's going to happen now that she pissed off Yellow Diamond? She could send like 10 Jaspers to Earth and kill everyone, including a bunch of humans. We don't know what Homeworld or the Diamonds are capable of yet, which again is why this moment is fantastic. Even Steven had a great moment earlier on since he got mad at Peridot for wanting to betray them. He put so much trust in her, yet she was still loyal to Yellow Diamond even after all the time they spent together. Honestly, if Peridot didn't change, Steven's mindset about letting people change might not have ever happened. He might have agreed with the gems and wanted to fight every gem that came from Homeworld. Peridot changing is Steven's biggest and most important accomplishment in the series. This episode is awesome. 10 out of 10, one of the absolute best, and I don't even care that it's only 11 minutes long.
Buzz Lightyear mission log, stardate 4072. My ship is run off course en route to Sector 12.
And I called Yellow Diamond a Claude right to her face. I called Yellow Diamond a Claude right to her face.
Steven listens to Peridot's recording logging her last 30 days on Earth. Besides the first and last minute, this whole episode is told through Peridot's point of view, which is great since it's one of the rare times where it's not from Steven's. We see her hang out with Garnet, Pearl, Steven, and even Greg. This showcases how Peridot changed and grew attached to the gems over time, and this works really well since we just saw her change sides in the last episode. If this was placed before the previous one, it would make her betrayal to Yellow Diamond feel more predictable. It's like, oh, here's a full episode showing Peridot having fun with the gems. I really wonder if she's going to change or not. It wouldn't ruin message received, but it would have made her betrayal seem less shocking. Anyway, not much else to say. Peridot is Peridot. She's hilarious.
What is this strange ritual?
That's,
Are they attempting fusion?
Everyone finds out that Malachite is on Watermelon Island, so they go there and kick her hiney. This could have been one of the best episodes since we finally see Malachite again after a full season and we see her fight Alexandrite. This fight is really cool, but unfortunately part of this episode focuses on Steven possessing one of the Watermelon villagers, which is lame and tonally jarring. We have two giant monsters fighting each other, yet we get interrupted by Watermelon villagers trying to fight one of them. It's nothing that bad, but it's still dumb, and even the first 3 minutes could have been trimmed down as well. Jasper gets away too, which is annoying, but at least Lapis is now free. Anyway, it's a solid episode that could have been in the top 15 with some tweaks and minor rewrites. The cluster finally emerges, so Steven and Peridot drill down and try to stop it. This is probably going to be a hot take, but I'm not a big fan of this one. The first half or even 2/3 are great, but the ending is really dumb. So instead of piercing the cluster Gurren Lagann style, Steven talks to the cluster and it turns out that it doesn't want to form. So after that, the gems start bubbling each other, which I guess is just something they're able to do. But wait, isn't the cluster one gigantic gem piece made up of millions of gems? Shouldn't all their gems be attached together? How are they bubbling each other? other. Also, Steven somehow bubbles the entire cluster too, which is extremely difficult to believe. Isn't this thing bigger than his house? How the hell is he able to bubble this, and how are they able to bubble each other? Not only that, but now everyone just lives and accepts the fact that the cluster is bubbled up by Steven. Shouldn't you guys be worried that a kid bubbled this thing up? Shouldn't this be unstable or something? I feel like this should pop or at least show signs of breaking shortly after this. This is dumb and a very disappointing way to end the cluster arc. It's pretty obvious that they weren't going to kill the cluster since it's made up of millions of gems, but even so, the way it's done here is so lame, stupid, and rushed.
You could always come back to the temple with us and live in the bathroom again.
No thanks. I have seen what goes on in there.
Lapis wakes up and Steven shows her all the places where she could live. It's satisfying seeing Steven finally be able to talk to Lapis again since it's been a full year since he last saw her in person. It's nice to see all these different areas around where Steven lives, and apparently he lives near New Jersey.
You'd like it in Jersey. The people here seem to hate the earth too.
But yeah, not much to say. It's obvious Lapis is going to start living at the barn, however she finds out Peridot is here too, which leads into the next episode.
Now we're brother roomies!
It's you and Lapis holding hands.
Where are our noses?
Peridot and Steven try to convince Lapis to live at the barn with her. This is a very weird episode. On one hand, it has best girl Peridot, but on the other, we also have worst girl Lapis, and Lapis is a... Now I get it, she was captured by Peridot as well as Jasper, who she was also fused with for a year at the bottom of the ocean. She's finally free from that and wants nothing to do with them. But at the same time, Steven is the reason why she's even free in the first place, yet she doesn't respect him at all here. She's a giant asshole to Peridot, and while some of it is merited, I guess, she goes way too far and doesn't even give her a chance. I really wanted to punch Lapis in the face, but at least at the end, she learned a very important lesson, which is not to be an asshole.
Home run!
Homeworld sends a ship of rubies to Earth to find Jasper, but then they get tricked into playing baseball with everyone. This is great. I probably like it more than most people do, but I don't care. It's my list and my review. Just like Ruby, who's always fused with Sapphire, the other rubies are hilarious. Not only them, but the rest of this episode is great in terms of comedy. It's easily one of the show's funniest. All the gems change their names to human ones to trick the rubies, such as Amethyst being Amy and Pearl being Earl. However, Lapis says that her name is Bob, which is a reference to when Steven called her that in Ocean Gem. It's such a quick and small joke, but it works so well, and there's plenty of other funny moments too. Normally I'd be disappointed and irritated if a story episode like this barely took itself seriously, but since it's so funny, I don't really care. The only nitpick is that Ruby and Sapphire flirt a lot during it and end up fusing in front of the rubies, which reveals that they're gems.
Whoops.
But besides that, this is a bunch of fun and definitely underrated.
Where did you learn to fly? He's used the memories of happy and sad things to land safely behind us, ready to give us a hug.
Steven discovers that he can float, and yeah, that's pretty much it. This is by no means a bad episode, it's just very bizarre to see this in the third season. This feels exactly like a season 1 or maybe even season 2 episode. Steven finds out that he has a new power, he doesn't know how to use it, but then he realizes that it's controlled by his emotions. It's predictable, but it's entertaining enough, and besides, being able to float is pretty cool.
I'm not your daddy, I'm your grandpa! Not even good on chips!
Sour Cream's real dad comes to town, and it turns out that he's actually Greg's old manager? He's almost as bad of a dad as Tyga's from Toradora. Sour Cream trusts him, but oh no, his dad is an asshole, and he realizes that his stepdad is actually his real dad. It's a plotline that's been done in other shows. It's not bad, the lesson is really good, but it's so predictable and doesn't do anything new. The only major thing to come from this is that Greg gets $10 million because of a song he wrote like 20 years ago. Pretty sure people don't like this one. Again, it's tolerable, but it's still average and forgettable. Oh boy, this one's gonna get me swatted. So Greg, Steven, and Pearl go to Empire City, and Greg and Pearl finally talk about Rose together and get along. This is a fan favorite episode, but I think it's very overrated. This is a musical episode, and there are 6 or maybe even 7 songs here. Now, I'm not a fan of musicals, plays, or Broadway or anything like that. I think musicals are kind of dumb, but I can enjoy a song or multiple songs as long as they're well written, sung well, catchy, etc. That being said, the songs here and And oh boy, this is also going to get me swatted. Most of the songs in the show, I'm not that big a fan of.
You what?
Yeah, I know people love the music in the show, but honestly, I think most of them aren't great. Now, don't get me wrong, there are really good ones like It's Over from this episode, Stronger Than You, and my personal favorite, Love Like You. But besides those, as well as a handful of others, most of the tracks are either fine or forgettable. Normally when a song comes on, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess there's a song in this episode because why not? This genre of music isn't my forte, which is part of the reason why I'm not a big fan of it. My kind of music is Deftones, Breaking Benjamin, Disturbed, Linkin Park, etc. But even though I'm not a fan of the genre, I can still enjoy and appreciate when and if a song is good. My problem with a decent handful of the tracks is that the actors aren't really good at singing. Pearl and Garnet can sing well, but Amethyst, Steven, Greg, and many others just don't do it for me. They aren't ear-piercingly awful or anything, but they clearly aren't good at singing. Another pet peeve for me is that a lot of the songs are really short. Usually they're 2 or even just 1 minute long. There's also so many of them, and again, most of them are sort of forgettable. I don't mind if a series has a decent amount of songs, but like I said, a lot of them just aren't anything special. If they were all just as great and memorable as the ones I mentioned, I wouldn't be complaining. Anyway, this really bothers me in this episode because the premise of Greg and Pearl making up and talking with each other about themselves in rows is great. This is something that I've wanted to see for a while, but it's in an episode filled with mostly forgettable or at best passable tracks. And even when they end up talking, it's like 3 lines of dialogue and it all gets overshadowed by Steven singing. Why couldn't they just, you know, have the two of them talk to each other like normal people? This isn't a bad moment or anything, but I feel like this could have been done so much better if it was just a normal episode. Again, I might not have been complaining about this if the song and singing was good, but Steven's actor doesn't sound great. This usually isn't that big of a problem, but when it's during what's supposed to be a big emotional moment like this, it becomes one. Now, I know I've been shitting on this episode a bit, and I'll just say that I don't dislike it. I think it's overall good. I really wish I could say it's just as great as everyone else does, because it does have its over, which, like I said before, is one of the best songs in the series. This song, moment, Pearl singing, the animation, the meaning behind the song, all of it is perfect. This is one of the best moments from the show. It's genuinely amazing, but this only makes up about 1/5 of the episode. Besides some nice visuals later on and the premise itself, the rest of it is filled with mediocre tracks or at least songs that aren't sung well. I know I'm going to get shit on for this, but if you love this episode and it's one of your favorites, then that's completely fine. I'm glad you guys can enjoy this so much more than me, but I'm not going to lie and say I love it when I clearly don't.
Could you get any shorter?
I know you just heard me.
Peridot, Amethyst, and Steven go to Funland, but Peridot doesn't have fun since she realizes Steven and Amethyst have more powers than her. Might be a hot take, but this is definitely my least favorite Peridot episode so far. It's good, don't get me wrong, but compared to the others, it's not as memorable, fun, and it's also predictable too. At least Peridot gets metal powers at the end, even if they're super weak, but I guess it's better than nothing.
If I am you, then who are you? You are you also. You are my mirror image. I'm you. You are me. I am you.
What's going on?
Steven wakes up in Lars's body and pretends to be him. This is easily one of the better Townie episodes. I know Lars is my favorite and all, but it's still really funny seeing Steven be himself while in Lars's body. We get to see his parents, and more importantly, Steven confesses to Sadie, which is extremely cringy and hard to watch. It's also nice that despite everyone else liking Lars more this way, Sadie is the only one who doesn't. Sucks that they don't end up together, but oh well, I guess Lars is just gonna have to settle for this big, morbidly obese caterpillar. Steven and Connie fuse as Stefani and race against Kevin down a hill. It's fine, it's nothing special. Maybe I'd like it more if I liked Kevin, but I never really cared for him. He has some good lines, but for the most part, he's just a dick without any redeemable or likable traits. I know Lars is an asshole, but for me, he's one of the funniest characters. He does have some likable traits, but Kevin is just a big fat...
Dick, dick, dick!
More importantly, how the hell is Stefani able to drive? She's made from Steven and Connie, who are both kids. Connie is a skilled person and all, but she still shouldn't know how to drive. Maybe it's because Steven played one of those racing arcade games, but either way, it's never really explained. There's also this one part where they stop in the middle of the race for multiple minutes while they're already behind, yet they somehow catch up to Kevin and almost win. Maybe Kevin slowed down since he didn't want to win that easily, or who knows, maybe the rubber banding here is really that bad. Anyway, this is one of the rare times where Steven is genuinely pissed at someone, which is nice to see, but besides that, it's okay.
Okay, yeah, cool, okay.
got a bad feeling about this.
Shut up, Ronaldo.
The pizza and french fry family go to war with each other because P. Diddy made pizza or something, even though pizza should be made by the pizza family, I guess. This is one of the most forgettable episodes. I do not give a single shit about any of these characters. It's pretty boring and pointless. I guess if you for some reason really like these characters, then maybe you'll find it somewhat enjoyable. Surprisingly, the best part about this is Ronaldo, which I don't think I can say about any other episode. Steven thinks that the only way for the families to stop fighting is if Ronaldo and the other chick start going out. Ronaldo doesn't want to because he says he has a girlfriend, but no one believes him, obviously. However, it turns out that he actually did have one, gets dumped, and then mopes about it for the rest of the episode.
I'm full of sadness.
It's really shocking and funny, and I guess people who hate him would enjoy seeing him suffer like this. But besides this one aspect, it's boring and easily skippable.
The pizza is aggressive.
Kiki keeps doing favors for her sister, but then has nightmares about it, so Steven helps her out. This is basically just like the last one. It's almost entirely pointless, it adds nothing, it's boring and unfunny too. The title is funny, there's an Ava reference at the end, and Kiki does get some minor development, but it adds nothing to the overall narrative, which is why it's filler. At least the last episode had Ronaldo getting dumped, which was funny, but here there's nothing funny or memorable. It sucks, and pizza sucks too. Steven tries to heal the centipede gem that he kept as a pet all the way back in season 1. Never thought they'd bring this plotline back, but I'm not complaining since it's really interesting seeing Steven try to communicate with this corrupted gem. He might have let her leave to go live with her friends, but at the end of it, they're all still corrupted and can't communicate. It's sort of satisfying, but also kind of sad and dark too. They do return to this plotline at the end of the series, but for now, this was a very somber way to end the episode. Steven and Greg bring Lapis out to sea and she messes some stuff up, but then Jasper the furry ghost comes and Lapis tells her to. The first half is sort of cringy and hard to watch, mainly because Lapis is kind of a bitch. But at least the second half with Casper is really cool since she wants to fuse with Lapis again, and apparently Lapis misses her too, which is #weird.
You pay this woman to sit on babies?
Your shirt's clean. You want it back, or are you just gonna go for a topless stroll?
Hey, we all gotta grow up sometime, right?
That's not really relevant to my question.
Greg watches Sour Cream for the day, and yeah, that's about it. Definitely the weakest flashback episode so far. Normally they tend to reveal something big, but this doesn't do a whole lot. Greg learns to grow up more, and it shows how he used to rely on Sour Cream's mom a lot too. But besides that, it's nothing groundbreaking, which I don't really mind since it's still fun seeing Greg and Rose be with each other. I wish we got more flashback episodes like this that aren't that important, but are mainly here to show off Greg and everyone else back before the show began. Steven and Connie fight some corrupted gem monsters, but then Jasper comes, says like 2 lines, and then heads out. This is similar to Nightmare Hospital since it's mainly about Steven and Connie working together to prove that they can stop gems on their own. It's good, the setting is unique, and Jasper making a cameo is cool, but again, it's sort of just a worse version of Nightmare Hospital, even if there are differences. Steven and Connie hang out with Amethyst, but then Jasper comes, poofs Amethyst, Stefani fights her, and manages to put up a good fight. The second half is great, but the first half isn't anything special. I understand that the first half is showing Amethyst being cocky and thinking that she's their role model and whatnot, but it pales in comparison to the fight with Jasper. Amethyst nearly dies, but Stefani comes in and saves her while also forcing Jasper to retreat. This is yet another great example of showing just how far both characters have come since the beginning of the series. Jasper one-shot everyone 2 seasons ago, but now Steven and Connie are able to go head-to-head against her. Amethyst is upset that Steven is just as skilled and strong as her now, so she ends up fighting him. This is easily one of Amethyst's best episodes. Not as amazing as On the Run, but still really damn good. Even though she's clearly in the wrong for being sort of an asshole, you completely understand why she's acting like this. She thinks of herself as the weakest among the gems and thinks of herself as a mistake. However, despite all of that, for the last 14 years, she was able to be sort of the big sister for Steven and be someone he looked up to. But now that he's older and even stronger than her, she feels like she's useless. They both fight each other at the end, giving everything they have, and it's easily one of the best fights in the whole show. These characters should not be fighting each other, yet they are, and don't hold back at all. It's awesome, it's emotional, it makes me like Amethyst even more. Also, fuck you, John Kerry. Steven frees Bismuth, who's a gem that's been bubbled up in Lion's Mane for a super duper long ass time. She was a blacksmith that helped Rose and the other gems during the war, but she was bubbled by Rose since she wanted to kill the gems and the diamonds. This, as well as Bismuth, are pretty controversial, mainly due to Bismuth wanting to kill people. As for me, I don't fully disagree with Bismuth's mindset. Like, not for nothing, they were, or I guess still are, in a war against the diamonds. If the gems don't do something, then the diamonds and other gems will come and destroy the entire planet. War and killing people are clearly wrong, but there's a reason why they're fighting, which is to protect everyone on Earth. Yes, killing is wrong, but again, they don't really have a realistic option here. What, are they just going to go up to the diamonds and ask them nicely to stop? That'll never happen. Oh wait. Anyway, both characters aren't necessarily wrong here. Steven is right, but Bismuth makes sense too. She's a good person that knows that sacrifices need to be made in order to protect those around her. She does go crazy at the end and tries to kill Steven, which, yeah, that's really fucked up and she deserves to be bubbled for that. But again, she believes that if she doesn't kill the diamonds and everyone else around her will die, so what else is she supposed to do? You really think someone like her who's been in a war believes that there's a peaceful solution to stopping the diamonds? Maybe she should call Harry Truman and ask him to deliver a special kind of pizza to Homeworld. I'm sure they'll love that. Anyway, this is also the first 22-minute episode, so thank God this isn't two separate episodes. I don't know why Cartoon Network had a hate boner for them, but at least they managed to give them a whopping 3 22-minute episodes throughout the whole series. Also, I think this is another one of those racist episodes I was talking about from earlier. Apparently, some people think this is racist because Steven is white and Bismuth is black and Steven kills, or I guess poofs her. Like, really? What the hell is wrong with some people? Bismuth isn't black, she's purple.
I love being purple. I love being
Big mouth.
Bitch. Up your bitch.
big mouth.
Living large, boy. Living so large.
What a beautiful day!
Who are you supposed to be?
Check a carrot cake.
What the hickey, Cartoon Network? We just got a 22-minute episode and now you're not okay with them anymore? These are clearly meant to be one episode, but oh, we can't have 30-minute time slots? Fuck you! Anyway, Steven and Amethyst stick around with Peridot and Lapis, and then they go to the kindergarten where all the Jaspers were made. Then Jasper shows up, they fight her, but then Steven fuses with Amethyst? This is the first time Steven has fused with the gem, and it's definitely weird. Smoky Quartz is basically Meatwad's MILF mother with the McDonald's toy as a weapon. It's fucking whack, man. She's not a bad fusion, but not one of my favorites either. She's probably somewhere in the middle of the fusion list for me. Although I think it's safe to say she's the best out of the Steven gem fusions, although not out of all the Steven fusions, since Steg is the best. He's pretty epic. Anyway, Jasper gets corrupted, turns into a monster, gets bubbled, and that's how her arc ends. She refuses to change, unlike Peridot, and would rather turn into a monster than live with Steven since she's an asshole.
Moon Man, can't you see?
The rubies come back, Amethyst pretends to be Jasper, and they all go to the moon.
I'm pissing on the moon!
It's hard to follow up a big story episode like the last one, but this one somehow does. Not only is it thrilling seeing Amethyst try to hold her form and pretend to be Jasper, but the rubies are just as funny as ever. You can have these characters do anything, and the episode will be a bunch of fun. They're all so stupid and naive. I love them all. They should get their own spin-off. Actually, no, never mind. Please don't do that. I'm sure it'll be awful. Anyway, it ends with Steven being sent into space, and then he dies. Steven and one of the rubies are stuck in space, and Steven reveals that he's actually Rose Quartz. Despite saying that, letting the ruby into the bubble, and even healing him, he still tries to kill Steven since he's an asshole. In all seriousness though, this is a very impressive episode. It has only Steven and this one ruby, and for the most part, all they do is talk. The dialogue between them, as well as their chemistry, is great, and it's really funny seeing the ruby try to kill Steven. He eventually realizes that he's going to die, so he opens the bubble and then throws a ruby out, which is a pretty big moment for him. Gems can breathe in space, but even so, for all Steven knew, this ruby would float in space for hundreds of years without ever being found again. He didn't care about Ruby's life at all. He just wanted to survive, even if that meant making someone else spend the rest of their life in space. There's also a montage at the end, and Love Like You starts playing, which is the best part of the episode. I know I said this before, but this is my all-time favorite song in the series, and while we don't get to listen to the full song without others talking over it, it's still pretty epic.
Yeah, I bought a giant life-size slingshot from you, and it just slam me into a mountain.
Steven and Peridot try to catch a gem monster. It's basically just a Coyote and Roadrunner parody, but it's still fun. I mean, it has Peridot as a main character. How can it not be? This also includes the Fade to Black transitions, which is such a small detail, but makes a notable difference. They normally don't use them in the series, but they do here, since again, it's a reference to the Roadrunner cartoons. This isn't a bad follow-up to a handful of story episodes, and is also a fine way to start season 4.
Fall already! Peridot, watch out!
Oh, right. Thank you.
Today on Hitler, we'll be talking with Hollywood hunk Christian Slater.
Sardonyx brings Smokey Quartz onto her talk show and she asks her what it's like to be a fusion. It's fine, I get why this exists. Obviously, Garnet and Pearl want to know what it's like for Smokey to be a fusion of both Steven and Amethyst, but it's not that entertaining or interesting. I guess it's neat to see two fusions together, but besides that, it's okay.
Let me see. Oh wait, I can't read.
Steven and Connie read a book about Mayor Bluey's ancestors and how they discovered Bitch City. This is basically a sequel, or maybe even a ripoff of Historical Friction. That episode told the story of how Mayor Bluey's ancestors discovered Bitch City, and it was fine. Then there's this episode, and it sort of does the same thing. Jamie plays Bluey's ancestor, and I already said this before, but I don't really care for Jamie that much. In fact, I don't care about anything in this episode. This is one of the most pointless episodes in the whole show. It adds nothing. It's unfunny, and it's super boring too. Jamie goes around to various places and sees stuff like the old Gem War battlefield and the kindergarten, but that's it. If you're going to have a filler episode like this, then at least have it be funny, but like I said, it's not. This might actually be the worst episode yet. I'm sorry if you like this one, but I don't fucking care for it at all. I don't have a problem with towny or filler episodes, but this is just a ripoff and worse version of an episode that wasn't even that good to begin with.
Do you ever look at someone and wonder, what is going on inside their head?
Stefani trains but struggles to concentrate since Connie threw some hillbilly on the ground at school.
I threw it on the ground.
Not only that, but then Steven struggles with his inner fears such as poofing Bismuth, Jasper, and some other stuff too. This is another fan favorite episode. Not one of my all-time favorites, but it's definitely one of the stronger ones. Having Steven and Connie train by understanding their emotional struggles is great, although Connie's struggles are sort of dumb. Like, I understand she's a kid and all and doesn't want to hurt anyone, but what she did was an accident. Not holding this against the episode or anything since it is in character, but at the same time, this helps show how different both hers and Steven's struggles are. She's devastated over this little thing. Meanwhile, Steven has to worry about the entire planet being destroyed by space Nazis. Like, shut the hickey up, Connie. You don't know what this kid has been through. Actually, wait, I guess you do since you're fused with him, so never mind. Anyway, this has Here Comes a Thought, and I thought it was really good at first, but after rewatching and listening to it again, I'll admit that I was sleeping on it. This song is awesome. I didn't remember it before my rewatch, but now this is easily in my top 5 and maybe even top 3 songs of the show. The visuals are amazing, the meaning behind it is good, and the singing is really solid too. That's kind of why this song works for me here, where some of the ones in Mr. Greg don't. It's hard for me to get emotionally invested in a scene if there's a song playing that isn't sung well. Also, this takes place in the middle of the episode, and we see Connie and Steven talk things out at the end without singing. That's exactly what I wanted from Mr. Greg. You can write in a or even a few songs in an episode, but for an extremely emotional and important scene like this, hearing the characters talk instead of singing feels more real and less cringy. Anyway, this has one of the best songs, visuals, and even in terms of writing, it's pretty epic.
But I am the robot.
Steven breaks one of the robots at Funland, pretends to be it, tells people their futures, and one of those people is Mr. Smiley's old friend. Pretty sure people don't like this one. It's not good, but it's nothing offensive. I think this is considered one of the weaker ones since this is a season 4 episode, even though this feels more like one from season 1 or 2. The main character isn't memorable. There might be a few funny moments, but not enough to recommend watching, and overall it's just another forgettable filler. Pearl meets and becomes interested in someone despite still loving Rose for all these years. This is one I really want to love, but it has some notable flaws. First off, this is one of the most forced inclusions of Steven in the whole series. He really doesn't do anything. In fact, you can remove him and not much would change. This should have been a solo Pearl episode, or at least only have included Amethyst. Steven doesn't hurt the episode that much, but again, he doesn't need to be here. Second is the girl who Pearl is interested in who doesn't even have a name. She looks sort of similar to Rose, which is a very dumb decision. Isn't the point of Pearl Pearl moving on to find someone new that doesn't remind her of Rose? Did you really have to make this character have pink hair and also be on the more chubby side like her too? The biggest problem though has to be that we never see this character again. This is a one-off character. This is her only episode, so this plotline goes nowhere, which is stupid. Seeing Pearl get into a new relationship and start dating a human is a very interesting concept. Even if it didn't work out for her, it'd still be satisfying to see her take this next step in her life and try something new. But no, we don't get to see anything like this because Rebecca Black thought Sadie singing "We Are Number One" was more important than this. Anyway, there's also the song that plays on the radio that's called 15 Minutes, and even though it's sort of muffled and low, it still sounds great. You can find the song on YouTube and listen to it in full, and honestly, I really wish more songs were in this genre. This is more of my type of music. This I can bop my head to. It's awesome, unlike John Kerry. He looks like a fucking shoe.
I'm the friend that you need.
Steven hangs out with Onion as well as his racist and homophobic friends, and Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. I don't care at all. I don't care for any of these dumb kids. I hate Onion. This is pointless filler and it's not funny whatsoever. Actually, wait, just kidding. There's this one part where Steven takes his phone out and he has 3 of Lars's numbers for some reason. At first I thought Lars blocked him twice, which is why he has 3 different numbers, but that would be the other way around. Or maybe Lars is a dumbass, broke his phone twice, and is now on his 3rd phone with a new number. Either way, it got me to laugh, but besides that one funny moment, this is awful. By this point, nearly everyone in the fandom had expressed their hatred for Onion and Ronaldo, which is why it's confusing to see both of them get another episode this season.
We will make America great again.
Steven's Uncle Andy comes to visit, however, he doesn't like that the gems are living here since he's a racist.
They're alien refugees from space and
they're illegal aliens? What? You couldn't even marry an American?
This is probably going to be a hot take, but I love this episode, and I love Andy. He's the best one-off character in the show. He's fucking hysterical. He's voiced by Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. He steals this episode with his performance. The other characters get some good moments as well as jokes, but let's face it, Andy is this episode. It all revolves around him. It's his choice whether or not the gems stay, since this is his barn and they didn't ask him if they could stay here. He's definitely an asshole to them, but he does learn to let them stay here, even though he didn't really give much of an apology. But either way, that doesn't ruin the episode for me. Like I said, this is the funniest of the whole show. Comedy isn't the show's strongest aspect, but there are occasions where they nail it, and this is one of those. This is also a Thanksgiving episode, by the way, so I guess that makes this the greatest Thanksgiving episode of all time. Hell yeah, baby.
Let's go.
Yet another flashback episode, but this time it takes place when Steven is a baby and after Rose deleted System 32. It's neat seeing how all the gems treat Steven drastically differently than how they do now. They all think Steven is still Rose and even think he's trying to unfuse with her at one point. Pearl also thinks about ripping his gem out, which would, oh yeah, kill him. Then again, Pearl has always been crazy. I mean, there's literally an episode about her telling Connie to stop caring about her own life and roleplays Chaozu.
What you say?
Steven and Greg go to a place that Steven saw in his dream, but then when they get there, oh holy shit, it's fucking Bluey Diamond. She grabs Greg by the balls and brings him to her spaceship. Oh my god. This is mainly built up for the next arc, but there's also some important plot details like Steven seeing Rose's pod for the first time. Besides her being in the answer, this is Blue Diamond's first main appearance and she leaves a good first impression. At first you feel sort of bad for her since she's mourning over someone and she even seems to be getting along with Greg. But then without even asking, she grabs Greg and takes him with her. This is a great way to start the next arc. We get introduced to another diamond, Greg gets captured and is now in space and the stakes are the highest they've ever been.
I found a spaceship!
The gems take the Ruby ship and go to space to find Greg. Not a whole lot happens here. Steven messes with the controls for a bit, but then there's a 2.5 minute scene of him struggling to stop the ship. This is great. There's the use of red to show how scared Steven is. None of the gems are there to help him. He's all alone and can barely move. This scene feels notably longer than it is, but I mean that in a good way. You feel yourself struggling alongside Steven for every second, since stopping the ship seems impossible. The rest of the episode is alright, but this moment is by far the episode's highlight.
What is he?
Some kind of racist?
Everyone gets inside Pink Diamond's zoo ship thingy, and Steven manages to get inside the zoo at the end. This is one of the most thrilling episodes. Everyone needs to act as if they're here to deliver Steven to the zoo, which is racist blue bimbo believes. One wrong move or slip up that reveals who they are, and then that's it for them. They're all dead. This also introduces this blue racist gem, and she's blue and racist. That's about it. I like how even in future she still never changed despite the 3 super Nazis somehow changing, but I'll get to that in the next season.
You need to walk to the zoo? Well, who's stopping you?
Steven finds Greg in the zoo, they dick around with the other humans, and then almost escape. Apparently this is Pink Diamond Zoo, and she's had this for thousands of years. None of these people or their ancestors have left this place, so that must suck for them. They don't know what movies are, anime, video games, Deftones, My Little Pony. They're missing out on all the good shit. Despite them all being trapped here, they're all happy, which I guess isn't a bad thing, even though locking them up is, bad. They also choose who marries who based on what some random voice in their head tells them, which might just be worse than not being able to see My Little Pony. Like, you're telling me I might spend the rest of my life with some ugly chick that I don't even like? That must suck the duck out of a monster truck. Steven and Greg leave the zoo, spy on Blue and Yellow Diamond, and then escape the ship with everyone else. There's a lot going on here for an episode that's only 11 minutes. We see Amethyst hang out with the other Amethyst, which is satisfying since she's able to be with others who are exactly like her. I feel like this could have made for a full episode, or at least an extra or longer scene. This should be a more important moment for her. Piss Diamond sings What's the Use of Feeling Blue, which is one of the weirdest songs in the series. It's not bad, I do like it, but I think my enjoyment mainly comes from the fact that Space Hitler is singing a song. This is someone who casually destroys planets along with her people, yet she's now singing a song about how she misses one of her family members. I'm sort of fine with Blue being a somewhat sympathetic character, and on a really good day, I can tolerate the idea of Yellow being redeemed too. I'd rather her be this cold-hearted leader from her first introduction, but either way, this change doesn't piss me off. I know some people complain and say that this retcons and completely rewrites how she was before. She doesn't feel like a different character. This is just giving us more info as to what kind of person she is. She can be a ruthless dictator in front of her people, but when she's with the Diamond, she can be more caring even if she only cares about the 4 of them. Anyway, after this, everyone escapes and then the arc ends. This is a good way to end what is a decent arc, although I still think it should have been longer. We only got to see the zoo for 1 episode, and like I said, I wanted to see more of the other Amethysts too. But for what we got, I can't complain too much, especially since we got another funny racist character.
The day is saved thanks to
Big Mouth.
Lapis, you could be Amethyst.
Which one is she? I'm joking.
Great! You're already in character!
Connie tells Steven what she, Peridot, and Lapis did while everyone else was busy in space. It's a filler episode that follows up after the end of an arc. It could have been worse, but it also could have been better too. Peridot is fun, but Connie and Lapis are just alright. They don't have the best chemistry, which I guess is sort of the point. I do like how besides the first minute, Steven isn't in this. Then again, he shouldn't be here at all. This should just be from Connie's point of view, but we can't have that now, can we? Anyway, there's some funny moments, but overall it's just a predictable, harmless, but still somewhat forgettable filler.
Mom! Mom! Mom!
Maybe this is what I've been missing. Football!
Steven goes into his room and hangs out with his mom, or at least an imaginary version of her that the room made. This is an episode that would have been nice to see, but I wasn't sure if Steven would actually ever go ahead and do this. He misses his mom and has her room, which can make anything he thinks of, so making a version of her like this is something he can do. It's nice seeing him hang out and talk with Rose, even if again, it's not actually her. The ending is great too. Steven accepts that his mom is gone and has to deal with the problems she left behind. It's a super serious moment, but then it's followed up with Greg and the others coming in to see him, showing that even though Rose is gone, he still has a family.
We're a family! Wow, this is shit.
We should let his parent know he's back.
Hey, Dad, I'm back. Blog, blog, blog.
That was really good.
Steven lets Ronaldo stay at his place and lets him be a crystal gem. Holy fucking shit. There have been some awful episodes. I'm still hesitant on rating some a 1 out of 10, but this one definitely is. Just like the other Ronaldo episodes, there's a couple funny moments, but overall this one is insufferable. Like I said before, I don't hate Ronaldo like other people seem to, but holy Jeffrey Epstein, this is by far his worst episode. He abuses Steven's kindness by letting him stay at his place, and he responds by being being an annoying shithead to him for the whole episode. Why does Rocknaldo act like this? What happened to him being somewhat of a normal person in episodes like Horror Club and Restaurant Wars? He felt like an actual character there that had real problems and struggles and wasn't just an obnoxious hobknocker that I wanted to punch in the face. How do you go from Keep Bitch City Weird and Rising Tides Crashing Skies, both of which are still bad episodes, to this? Now I get it, there's over 170 episodes as well as 6 seasons. You're going to make mistakes as a writer and mess up eventually. But how do you write an episode that's this appalling, especially when you're 4 seasons in? You should know what works and what doesn't, and by now everyone in the fandom had expressed that they hated this character. Were the writers fed up with fans and made Rocknaldo at his absolute worst here? I don't know, but either way, this does literally nothing right. It's a gigantic mess. It's an awful idea. Rocknaldo sucks. What were they thinking?
Whoa, you truthed him so hard he died.
It's like the sequel no one asked for.
Amethyst wants to stop wrestling, but Steven doesn't want to, so he wrestles by himself. What the hell is this? Tiger Millionaire was fine for an early season 1 episode, but this is season 4 and the whole thing seems off.
What do you mean, off?
He took off his tie and he's throwing money at everybody? It's like the sequel no one asked for.
Oh, okay. I guess they're self-aware, which just begs the question, if you knew no one asked for this, then why make it? This wasn't an important plotline, and this episode doesn't recontextualize anything either. Cheeseburger Backpack was another fine one, but later on there was a test that completely changed how you and Steven perceive it. This doesn't do any of that. It's just an episode about Steven wanting to have fun wrestling. That's it. I guess Steven being sad about Amethyst stopping something that they both do together isn't that bad of an idea, but the thing is, this is so boring, unfunny, and forgettable that it doesn't even matter. Maybe if they really tried hard enough, they could have made this decent, even if, again, no one asked for it. But they didn't, and what we got was one of the most disliked episodes in the whole show.
I don't want to be the bad guy anymore.
What was that?
One of the rubies lands directly in front of Steven's house somehow and says that she's now good, even though it turns out that she was lying and is still bad.
She just made her asshole.
Episodes where antagonists pretend to be good can be very predictable since it's obvious they aren't going to change, but this is definitely one of the better usages of this plotline. You might think I'm dumb, but I genuinely thought there was a chance that this ruby would turn good and change. The rubies are stupid and can be easily tricked, so maybe some of them can also change their minds quickly too. This is also the nicest ruby out of all of them, plus I could see this ruby being a fun addition to the cast. It'd be cool to see this ruby interact with the other ruby and sapphire as well as Garnet. But looking back, it's pretty obvious that this ruby was way too nice and changed too quickly. This is a good example of showing that even if something is predictable, it can still be entertaining as long as it has good characters and funny jokes.
But she has a penis. Well, we'll have to do something about that.
Steven thinks Rose left a hidden message in her tape, so Lion shows him that there's another VHS tape that he hasn't seen yet. However, it turns out to be the exact same tape, except instead of Rose calling him Steven, she calls him Nora, since that's what his name would be if he was a girl. I might be wrong, but I think people didn't like this back when it first aired, which I can see why. Just like Steven, you're expecting there to be some big plot reveal, but no, the complete opposite happens. The whole point is that there isn't some big deep hidden message, which I can see pissing off some fans. But this plotline works for Steven since he's so focused on finding out more about his mom as well as himself. Sometimes things are just simple and don't need to be complex, and that's a solid message.
It's me, Peter Pizzapopoulos, from Italia.
Steven and Connie hang out with her father, Michael Afton, while he's at work as a security guard. This is technically built up for the next arc, but in reality, you can skip it and won't really miss anything. You can watch the last 5 seconds, and yes, I mean just the last 5 seconds, and you'll know that 2 aliens come and meet with Onion. That's all you'll need to know. Nothing else happens that's important. Connie's dad isn't interesting at all, even though that's the whole point.
My name is Chef. That is funny, Buck. It sounds great. Super cool. Can't wait. Bingo bongo.
Lars gets invited to the cool kids party but doesn't show up and then gets kidnapped. This is exactly what I just got done saying in the last episode. You can have episodes that focus on the side characters as long as they're entertaining and develop them, and that's what this does. We find out that Lars likes to bake but doesn't want others to know since he thinks it's lame. He also doesn't want to show up with Sadie since he's embarrassed and is afraid that everyone else will make fun of him. This all stems from his relationship with Rocknaldo as a kid. He's able to get along with his friends one-on-one, but he's scared that others will make fun of him if he opens up but doesn't show restraints like Rocknaldo does. It's frustrating to watch, but it's understandable, which is why I usually don't mind Lars being a dick. He's not even that bad here. The worst he does is not show up to the party, which is annoying, but that's all he really does wrong. He also has this one moment where he opens up to Steven about his feelings, which is great. If this was season 1, he would have thrown him out of his house, but no, Lars actually lets Steven hear what he thinks, which shows just how far he's come and developed.
You're not my dad!
Steven realizes that some people in Bitch City have gone missing, so he goes looking for them. Most of the episode is alright, and unfortunately not much happens until the last 2.5 minutes. 2, or I guess 3 gems kidnap Connie, along with some others. Steven gets thrown into a tree, faints, and that's how it ends. This is mainly more build up for the next episode, because God forbid Cartoon Network gave them a full 22-minute episode.
I am the ice cream man, running over kids in my minivan.
Everyone finds Aquamarine and Topaz, but they can't fight them since they don't want to hurt Steven's friends. This results in Steven sacrificing himself and revealing that he's Rose Quartz, which is crazy. The stakes are super high since Aquamarine and Topaz don't fuck around. The gems won't attack them, and they plan on bringing them all back to Homeworld. You're left wondering how they're all going to stop them, but instead Steven sort of gives up, which I guess was the only realistic outcome. All of this also happened due to Steven talking to a Peridot all the way back in season 1 when he mentioned a list of people that he knew. Not sure if the writers planned this out or not, but either way it ended up working extremely well. This is easily one of the best and even underrated episodes. It's intense from beginning to end. It's an amazing way to end off the 4th season.
I'm stuck!
Steven and Lars talk and try to escape from Topaz, but aren't able to. This is sort of a weaker version of Bubbled, where it's a much more quiet episode that's heavily driven by dialogue. It's another great Lars episode where he breaks down and admits that he's a coward, and Steven does the same too since he's just as terrified as Lars. He's about to be taken to the Diamonds, who want to kill him, the Earth, as well as Lars too. They have no idea how to escape and how to solve this entire mess. Everything seems hopeless for them, and they both sit there and just talk. It's pretty great. Steven goes on trial to defend himself in front of Blue and Yellow Diamond. This is one of the most intense episodes. This is similar to Gem Heist, where one wrong move could get Steven killed. If Steven says something that upsets or offends Blue or Yellow, then they'd zap him without hesitation. This episode also helps hint at Rose being Pink Diamond, since it asks why Pink was able to be shattered so easily. Her Pearl and Sapphires weren't there, which seems very suspicious.
Suspicious.
It's also funny how this one gem guessed that Rose was pink, but then dies for it.
Oh, disregard that last statement. I might have gotten carried away.
The only nitpick is that Blue and Yellow just stand there while Steven and Lars escape. I get that you're surprised and all, but shouldn't you start screaming and be running towards them? After Steven and Lars escape, they meet with a bunch of gems that are messed up. One of them are conjoined twins, one is a sapphire that sees the future after it already happened, and there's also one that... Later on, Lars sacrifices himself and actually dies. This is his biggest and most important moment in the series. Lars has been a piece of shit ever since his first appearance, but as the show went on, you started to understand him more. He's been a coward and was afraid to do or even say whatever was on his mind. But now he finally throws that all away and fights to protect other people, even if that means putting himself in danger. This moment, as well as the episode as a whole, is fantastic. However, there's one part that kind of holds us back from being one of the absolute best. Once Lars dies, Steven cries and his tears bring him back to life. Steven having healing powers is perfectly fine, but resurrecting people is very overpowered and stupid. Like, I get it, this is a kid show and all, there's no way they'd get away with showing a character die on screen like this, but it's still an issue. This isn't that big of a problem though, since this is the only time a character dies and is brought back to life. Well, as of now anyway, we'll get to that later, but for this moment, as well as the rest of the season, it's fine. It's not like Connie and the other gems get shattered and Steven cries 4 times throughout the final battle to save them, otherwise that would be pretty dumb.
Your hair! What are you, gay?
Steven discovers that he can go into Lars's head just like what Lion, so he says goodbye and goes back home. Definitely not as impactful as the last 2 episodes, but still really good on its own. Steven wants to bring Lars as well as everyone else home with him, but we all know they aren't able to. Lars even suggests that everyone leaves through his head, which means he would stay on Homeworld all by himself. Yet another strong moment for Lars, but of course the other gems decide to stay with him. Also, how the hickey would that fat-ass Nikocado caterpillar fit through your head? Anyway, Steven also realizes that Lion was killed and brought back to life by Rose. They never go into detail about this, but it's something that doesn't need to be answered. They could have a flashback episode about it, which would be cool, but again, it's not necessary. Anyway, this is another solid Lars episode, as well as a nice ending to one of the best arcs.
The last 8 years, this country's been
Now that Steven is back from space, he spends his time helping Mayor Bluey winning re-election. Now I get it, we just got done with easily one of the best arcs, so following up after it isn't going to be easy, especially if it's a lower stakes townie episode. But holy fucking shit, I can defend some of the townie episodes to a certain extent, but this is easily one of the worst. We just got back from space and we get an episode about Mayor fucking Bluey. Literally no one cares. Who thought this was a good idea? What's so frustrating about this is that there is an interesting townie plotline in here, which is about Lars's parents and Sadie mourning over Lars. I actually want to see more of them grieving over Lars being gone. Sadie is his lover, sort of, and Lars's parents are his parents. They're very close to him. We get a tiny bit of that, but it's all overshadowed by this god-awful election plotline. I don't care for Mayor Bluey, I don't care about this grandma pizza lady, and I don't fucking care about any of this. You want to know what's even worse? This was the first episode to air after a 6-month hiatus. I remember being all caught up after the last episode and waiting half a year for the next one. Once it aired, my friend immediately told me, hey, there's a new episode, and guess what? It's about Mayor fucking Bluey. I couldn't believe him, but he sounded so pissed off when he told me, and of course he was right. Obviously, I'm not going to hold this against the episode, but even watching it in order now that it's all done, this is still such an awful placement. I could even sort of forgive this if it was a season 3 episode, but for season 5, no. Just no. Actually, wait, hold on. The episode is called Dewey Wins, even though he loses, so that's false advertising. Fuck this episode, man.
Hey, Connie, how are you today?
Steven goes on vacation with Greg and the Gems, but the entire time he's there, he mopes around because he's waiting to get a text message from Connie. So I didn't mention this, but in the last episode, Connie gets pissed at Steven for not taking her to Homeworld with him, which, wow, what an asshole. Steven didn't take you because you're a human and he has no idea what Homeworld is like. For all he knew, you could have been killed as soon as you got there. He didn't want you or anyone else going because he didn't want you guys to get hurt, you fucking baka. At least with Steven, he's half gem and has powers such as bubbling himself up, floating, and also has a shield too. Anyway, like I said, Steven spends a whole episode moping over Connie, and it's not fun, which I get is the point. But that being said, it really doesn't make for an enjoyable episode. It's not even something that's so cringy it's fun either. Everyone tries to cheer him up, but Steven is just on his phone the whole time, being a big fat pussy. I get that it's in character for Steven to act this way, but man, I haven't disliked Steven this much since some of the earlier season 1 episodes. Steven tells Lapis that he escaped from the diamonds, which scares her into running away. Again. Lapis is my least favorite out of the main gems. She's unlikable at times, and this is one of them. Instead of staying with the others to defend Earth, she runs away like a little... Now, I understand that this is in character for her since she's afraid of the diamonds, but even so, all the others are too, yet they're staying on Earth. Even Peridot decides not to go either, but that doesn't change Lapis's mind since she takes the entire barn with her since she's an asshole.
This Claude's just like us. Too dumb to get with the program.
Steven, Amethyst, and Peridot go to the kindergarten and try to grow a flower. Definitely one of, if not the weakest Peridot episode so far. It's still alright, especially since we see her mourn over Lapis leaving. Ever since she came to Earth, she's made friends, but now one of them left, so this is a new feeling for her. It's not a very exciting episode, and even funny for a Peridot one, but it's still important and deserves to be here.
Dude, we're getting the band back together.
Sadie is tired of working at the Big Mouth Donut, so she quits and starts a band with the cool kids. Okay, now I'm starting to see why some people can't stand these townie episodes. Before, they were usually tolerable and even good, although it mainly depended on how much you enjoyed the characters in them. Now here's the thing, I like Sadie, especially when she's with Lars, but at this point I don't care about her and the cool kids starting a band together. If this was season 1, 2, or hell, maybe even 3, I'd be much less harsh on this, but again, this is season 5. Steven just escaped Homeworld from 2 giant space Nazis, and they can come and destroy him and the Earth at any time. I understand that not every episode is going to include big plot developments, but the last 2 were overall fine. They focused on 2 characters that are important to the narrative and did something new with them. But that's not what this does, since it's about a group of random-ass teens starting a band. The song Sadie sings isn't even good either, which if you're going to make a band episode, you better include a kick-ass song. Remember the Billy and Mandy episode where Grimm saying darkness. That was fucking awesome. It's one of the more memorable episodes of the show, which is saying a lot because there's a bunch I remember loving as a kid. But this is like grinding my testicles against a cheese grater. It fucking sucks.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party.
What took you so long?
I got lost coming up the driveway.
Yo, Kev, you invited the 7-year-old, bro.
Hey, shut your
mouth. Kevin invites Steven over to his party since Connie will be there and he wants him to fuse. I don't like Kevin, but he works decently well here. He tries to quote-unquote help Steven make up with Connie, even though the advice he gives is shit. That being said, he genuinely thinks what he's telling Steven to do will work, so in his own dickhead way, he's still trying to help him. I also like how Steven is so upset and scared that he's taking advice from one of the few people who he hates. It's predictable. Of course, all Steven had to do was talk to Connie normally, but even so, it's not half bad. It also ends with them both leaving without fusing because they don't care about Kevin, so that's hashtag funny.
Captain Knuckles is captain of you!
Steven and Connie visit Lars and find out that he's now the captain of the Misfit Gems. This is a really cool idea. Lars has never been a leader before since he's always been a coward and followed others, but now he's a leader of a rebel gem team that just stole a super duper fast ship and they're being chased. I would say I wanted to see more of this plotline, but they announced a spin-off recently which is going to be exactly this. Hopefully it's good. It's not necessary, but I'll watch it when it's all done. Maybe they'll explore the galaxy, show off how the diamonds were made, or who knows, maybe Lars will find a hot space girlfriend and have 10 kids. Stefani crash lands on a planet and dreams about Pink and Yellow Diamond. While this isn't a full reveal, it still heavily implies that Rose is Pink Diamond. I mean, why else would Steven be dreaming about her? There's no other realistic reason. This is also the first time we see Pink Diamond and we learn that she's basically just a bratty kid. This says a lot about her character, especially since again, this is how she gets introduced. Even if she's one of the most powerful beings in the universe, she doesn't act like it, but that could also be due to Blue and Yellow not treating her well. Anyway, the flashback is great and extremely important, but it only makes up about a third of the episode. Steven brings Garnet onto Lars' ship and she tells the story of how Rose started to rebel against Pink Diamond. The flashback looks great, but in terms of plot, it doesn't add that much that we didn't already know. Also, looking back, it's pretty funny how this came a few episodes before we got the official reveal for Rose being Pink Diamond. They wanted people to believe Rose and Pink were two different people, but then they immediately pulled the Uno reverse card in a single pale Rose. Still, for what it is, it's pretty good, especially since we see Garnet interact with the other fusions. I wish they all came to Earth and helped rebel against the Diamonds and Reunited, but I guess not.
Well, listen to this. Oh, sorry. It's probably hard to hear over the phone.
So after 3 really solid episodes, we get, drum roll please, a documentary episode about Sadie and the Cool Kids stupid ass band. Oh my god, I don't care. I really don't care at all. This plotline is horribly placed, most of the characters I don't care for, and the song still isn't good. Yes, it's better than the last one, but is that really saying much? If you can't make a good song, then just play Change by Deftones, Diary of Jane by Breaking Benjamin, or A True Friend from My Little Pony. Play all that good shit if you aren't gonna write a banger song. Most of the episode is shot from Steven's camera, which is different, but at the same time, didn't they already sort of do this in Rising Tides, Crashing Skies? Holy shit, if you're copying a Rocknaldo episode, then you know you really fucked up.
Now you fucked up! Now you fucked up! Now you fucked up!
Pool is closed due to AIDS.
Garnet does a bunch of random things since she's curious as well as scared of the future. Her future vision didn't show that Steven would give himself up and go to Homeworld, so because of that, she doesn't know what the future will hold. Most of the episode is just dumb fun, but this scene is great and easily the episode's highlight. I love how this is the exact same message as in Future Vision, except this time the roles are reversed. Instead of Garnet teaching Steven, this time it's Steven that's teaching Garnet. It helps show that even though Garnet is older, as well as one of his caretakers, she can still learn from him, even if it's something she taught him.
Letters of Santa?
Ooh, all right. I just wanted to help.
Did you cut holes in my bed sheets?
Steven writes Lars a letter explaining everything that's been going on in Bitch City. How many times do I have to teach you this lesson, Rebecca Black? I don't fucking care. I don't care about Rocknaldo. I don't care about the pizza family. I don't care about Jamie. I don't care about Mayor, or I guess ex-Mayor Bluey, and I don't care about Sadie's band. What pisses me off even more after looking back at this, as well as other filler season 5 episodes, are that these could have been used for something else. Not for nothing, but the finale was rushed as hell, and while I'm not saying an additional handful of episodes would solve everything, it would most likely help in some way. These are episodes that could have been spent focusing on the diamonds, Homeworld, more time for the big final arc, etc. I really don't want to come off as someone that only cares about the lore and plot, but that's sort of the show's main selling point. Yes, I did enjoy these characters for the first few seasons to a certain extent, but most of them aren't likable enough for me to merit them having episodes like this. The people of Bitch City are important to Steven, and we should see them sometimes since these are the main people that Steven is protecting. But at the same time, I just don't care about them like Steven does. This is another poopy episode.
You realize I don't know who half of these people are, right? Like, who the heck is Peridot?
Steven goes to the moon. I'm pissing on the moon. He finds Lapis. He then has a dream about the diamonds, which scares Lapis, and she runs away. Again. Wow, Lapis, I knew you were worse, Gem, but I didn't know you were this much of a... Steven came all the way here just to see you, and this is how you repay him, by nearly sending him back into space and almost killing him.
Wow, what an asshole.
She does sing for the first time, and it's not half bad, plus a flashback is great too. It gives us more context as to how Pink was treated by the diamonds and why she eventually turned into rose quartz.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
Steven helps Pearl find her cell phone. At least that's what the episode listing says. I don't remember this episode that much. Oh wait, this is the one where Steven finds out that
Mom was Pink Diamond.
this is the biggest reveal in the whole show. It completely recontextualizes everything. Rose Quartz was fucking Pink Diamond, and the only people who knew were herself and Pearl. Also, Pearl was Pink Diamond's Pearl, and she never told anyone else, not even Garnet or Amethyst. Rose Quartz wasn't just rebelling against the diamonds, but she was actually rebelling against her own family. It all makes sense why people were so confused as to why Rose was able to shatter Pink Diamond, because she was Pink Diamond all along. Whether or not this was planned from the start, it still works surprisingly really well as a twist. It doesn't feel like the writers wrote it out of their ass, and it doesn't retcon anything except for one thing. So I've watched numerous critiques on the series, and someone was complaining heavily about the Pink Diamond reveal. Most of the problems came from Rose being pink, since it made her a worse and heavily flawed person, which I don't mind and actually like. However, there was one thing that was brought up, which was Pearl fusing with Garnet and Amethyst, which is a genuinely fair criticism. When Pearl fuses with them, they're able to communicate with each other easier and can hear each other's thoughts as well as feelings. So when they fused for the first time, shouldn't they have found out about Pearl knowing that Rose is pink? When I first heard this, I thought, wow, this is a pretty big plot hole and sort of messes up the series. However, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this point doesn't make that much sense and isn't that big of an issue. So fusion is a very weird and complex technique that's sort of difficult to understand. When two people fuse, they do so because they're in sync and share a connection. For example, in Giant Woman, Pearl and Amethyst fused because they wanted to save Steven and complete the mission. When they were fused, these were the only two things they thought about, and they unfused due to them getting in an argument. While Pearl and Amethyst are still inside of Opal, they need to work together in order to maintain the form. Also, Opal is still her own distinct character that shares similar traits from both Amethyst and Pearl. But basically what I'm saying is that when two people fuse, they don't instantly gain every single thought and memory of the person they're fusing with. You can see the other person's memories, such as in Mindful Education, but that's because this was something that was heavily bothering both Steven and Connie. Pearl loves and thinks about Rose a lot, but she most likely isn't constantly thinking about this one moment over and over again. She might be Pink Diamond's Pearl, but if I were to guess, I'd say she thinks of Rose more than Pink, since that's who she fell in love with and calls by name. So yes, after some consideration, I don't think this is a major plot hole anymore, but since fusion is so complicated, I still think this is something that's worth discussing. Anyway, part of me would have liked to see a different scenario where Rose wasn't pink just because a story about a soldier rebelling against a diamond sounds cool on its own. But at the same time, it's also interesting seeing this since it's one of the 4 diamonds who starts rebelling against themselves. It's a mostly great twist. We get to see all these memories inside Pearl's head. It really is one of the best episodes. Garnet unfuses and Pearl tells Steven and Sapphire why Pink rebelled and turned into rose quartz. Pink is shown to be much more sympathetic and caring here since she isn't acting like a spoiled brat like in the last flashback we got. We don't get to see all of Pink's past, and because of that, her character is left up to interpretation, meaning it's debatable whether or not she's a good person. Maybe she was a shitty kid, but then turned into a caring person once she got to Earth and experienced everything it had to offer. Maybe she was always good and was just pissed at the diamonds for treating her like a kid. Or maybe deep down she was always just a dumb kid that wanted everything and didn't care about much. She may have given up her life for Steven, but maybe she did that to get away from solving the big mess that she created for everyone around her. My take on her giving birth to Steven is that she loved Earth and thought it would be fun to turn into a human. She didn't think all that much about the other gems and did this simply because she wanted to since it interested her. She's a caring person, but she's also pretty selfish too at times. She's a very interesting character, and even years after the show has ended, people still debate whether or not she's a good person. Anyway, as for the episode, I love how this is the opposite of Keystone Motel since this time Sapphire is the one who's so upset over Rose instead of Ruby. Sapphire has always been shown to be the more calm one, but even she can get pissed off from time to time. Amethyst tries to let Steven relax since his mind got blown JFK style after hearing everything about his mom. This is much more laid back compared to the last few episodes, but I don't mean that in the bad way. After getting hit with the biggest reveal in the series, it makes sense that there would be an episode about Steven trying to sink all of it in and wonder what he thinks of it all. This is definitely nowhere near as exciting as the last two episodes, but it's an episode that still needs to happen. It's important, just not in a major plot-driven way that changes everything you thought you knew about the series. Ruby goes on a journey with Steven, Greg, and Amethyst to have fun by herself since she's not fused with Sapphire. This is another episode that's not super exciting, but still important to Ruby, especially since it does set up her and Sapphire's wedding. Despite this being a Ruby episode, it's not really funny, which isn't a bad thing. It's just that my favorite aspect about Ruby, or all the Rubies, is how funny they all are. But I get it. This is a more serious episode about Ruby discovering herself, and it's good. She even gets to sing too, and it's not half bad.
I always come back.
Bismuth?
Everyone prepares for Ruby and Sapphire's wedding. Meanwhile, Steven frees Bismuth and tells her everything about his mom. Hell yeah, Bismuth is back and the other gems are happy to see her. It's really satisfying to see Steven finally be able to talk things out with her since she's really not a bad person, even though she does have her issues. This is mainly a calm before the storm episode since the next one is pretty massive, but I don't mind the more relaxed nature of this one.
That's right. Married.
Flowers for you, flowers for you, flowers for you.
Ruby and Sapphire get married, but then Blue and Yellow Diamond come and shit hits the fan. After 20 episodes, we finally see the Diamonds come to Earth to get back at Steven for escaping from Homeworld. All the gems are here to stop them, including Lapis, who comes back since she learned not to be a pussy. As amazing as this episode is, there are some annoyances I have, such as a cluster finally emerging. This has been built up for over 3 seasons, and after all that wait, it turns into a giant hand and helps everyone out. I complained about the cluster being bubbled in Gem Drill, but this is also kind of dumb. Wasn't the cluster supposed to, you know, explode, killing everyone on the planet? Now it's suddenly able to control itself and conveniently help Steven out. They were able to bubble each other inside the cluster, which was already dumb, but this I'm not a big fan of either. Towards the end, Steven passes out and is somehow able to leave his body and also talk to everyone else nearby. This pretty much comes out of nowhere, although he is able to communicate with people while he sleeps, so I guess this stems from that power. This is also how he gets both Blue and Yellow to listen to him and stop fighting. These aren't major problems that ruin the episode, but they do hold it back from being one of the absolute best. This was well worth the wait, but unfortunately after this, things start to get weird and not really in a good way.
Who are you supposed to be?
Check a carrot cake.
You got new legs.
Steven, Blue, and Yellow try to heal the centipede gem that he had as a pet, but it doesn't work. Apparently, if all 4 diamonds use their powers, then they'd be able to heal her, so Steven wants to go to Homeworld to convince White Diamond. This is sort of the turning point for the series, since Blue and Yellow are now seen as more human and less cruel. Meanwhile, White Diamond is explained to be nothing like them since she's so much more powerful and strict than them. Now, I said this before, but I'm kinda fine with Blue being redeemed and can tolerate the idea of Yellow as well. This doesn't ruin or piss me off like it did for some others, although I will will admit that yellow was at her best in message received. She's part of the reason why that's one of the absolute best episodes. She was cruel, ruthless, and threatening. She worked great as a villain there. Anyway, at the end we see White Diamond talk to Steven for a whopping 30 seconds and then she kicks him out. She's happy to see him, but at the same time the short reveal tells us a decent amount about White. She isn't as angry as Yellow or as emotional as Blue, but instead she's someone who's much more relaxed. More importantly, this is the first time she's seen Pink in over 5,000 years, yet she doesn't show any kind of anger, sadness, or remorse for her leaving. Instead, she talks for 30 seconds, doesn't even let Steven speak, and then lets him go without hesitation. White Diamond doesn't fuck around. You can't talk to her, she scares the other diamonds, and all she cares about is herself. According to her, everyone is beneath her and she rules everything. She appears to be a menace and is unlike anyone we've seen in the series before. Too bad she gets like no screen time, but I'll get to that in a bit.
Honey, I'm home!
Steven hangs out with Yellow and Blue, sees what it was like for his mom to live as a diamond, and then decides to throw a ball. It's cool seeing Steven interact with Yellow and Blue, especially Yellow since we see more of her kinder side since she finds Steven and Pink funny. The more I see of Yellow, the less annoyed I am about her being less cruel and more sympathetic, although her arc should have been handled a lot better. But hey, at least it's not as bad as a certain someone's, and we'll get to that shortly.
This ballroom used to host the most elegant balls in its day.
Whoa, were they big?
Oh, they were huge!
And me! I knew it. I knew I couldn't be the only one.
Steven prepares and then goes to the ball, but accidentally fuses with Connie, which forces the gems to poof everyone and locks Steven and Connie up. Steven is a fucking dumbass here. He does whatever he wants despite Blue warning him that White Diamond will get mad at him. So basically Steven wants to have a regular ball like on Earth, wants to participate in it and dance, but because he's a diamond, he isn't allowed to do that. It's also offensive to fuse with another human, which he does because again, he's stupid.
I'm kind of retarded.
What Steven is saying makes sense since it is right. He should be able to dance and do everything else he told Blue Diamond. But just because he's right doesn't mean he should do it. We already established that White Diamond doesn't tolerate shit. If you show up and disrespect her, you're not going to get her to compromise and heal those other gems on Earth. Getting on her good side seems like it'd require a lot of time and effort, and that's even if she'd consider the thought of compromising with him too. But because we only have 2 episodes left, we have to have Steven fuck up somehow. The last episode was perfectly fine in terms of pacing. They could have done more with Steven learning about Pink's daily life, but it was still acceptable. However, here you can really tell the writers are trying to cram in a plot that should last like half a season at least.
So, you think I'm stalling?
Steven uses his psychic dream powers, somehow warps across the entire fucking solar system and takes control of one of these stupid watermelon Stevens. After he performed that bullshit, he spends the remaining 8 minutes traveling to his home to warn Bismuth and the others. Are you fucking shitting me? This is the second to last episode, yet this is what they do with it? The first 2 minutes of Steven talking with Connie and realizing how dumb he was is perfectly fine, but everything afterwards is awful. Steven has some broken powers, but being able to send his spirit across an entire solar system is unbelievably stupid. He's never done something this insane before, yet he's somehow able to do it, and on his first try too. Yes, he does have to travel a long way to get to his house, but even so, all that time just feels like a big waste. This entire episode is wasted and could have been turned into a quick 2-minute montage. This is an extra episode's worth of time that could have been spent making the finale slightly less shitty. How could someone like this? It's awful, it's fucking boring, and a complete waste of time. The first Watermelon Steven episode was tolerable. They were kind of annoying and jarring in Super Watermelon Island, but here they're insufferable. I hate these little fuckers. I want to take a mallet and smash their stupid melon fruit vegetable thingies all over the goddamn place. This is a joke. This is a big fuck you to the fans. I mean, seriously, who thought this was a good idea? If you plan on rewatching the series after this video, then I recommend skipping most of this episode besides the first few as well as the last minute. Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. We finally make it to what's going to be the most controversial episode in the entire series. I know I'm going to get shit on for ranking Mr. Greg in the middle of the list, but at the very least, I still like the episode, even if I think it's very overrated. This, on the other hand, is, or at least for a time, was the finale for the series. There were episodes and characters that the fandom was split over, but this is by far the biggest thing that had people arguing over whether it was lit or... So Change Your Mind is the season 5 finale, and thankfully it's 45 minutes long, so they have some time to wrap up the series, but clearly that wasn't nearly enough. The episode begins with Blue breaking Steven and Connie out of prison, which pisses off Yellow. No pun intended. They fight for a minute, but then Steven talks to Yellow and she starts crying, which is really dumb. Like I already said, I can tolerate the idea of Yellow switching sides and helping Steven even if I'd rather her not. She does care about Pink as well as Blue, but for her to start crying like this is way too rushed and unrealistic. Blue is handled fairly well. She's the most emotional diamond and I don't have a problem with her helping Steven here, but Yellow wasn't ready to turn like this. It doesn't feel believable or satisfying. It's still like 10 times better than White Diamond's redemption, but I'll get to that shortly. Anyway, Bismuth, Lapis, and Peridot come, which is cool and expected, but I still wish we got to see Lars and his crew come as well. They show up on Earth at the very end, but I wish they were here and able to help the other gems fight off White Diamond. They wouldn't be able to do a whole lot, but obviously the episode was already rushed as is, so they couldn't cram these characters in here too. After these three get here, Blue and Yellow try talking to White, but she quickly rips off the mime from Powerpuff Girls and sucks away their colors. Then Steven falls while holding all 4 crystal gems and somehow fuses with them. What? What the fuck? How the hell is he able to do this? Aren't gems asleep while they're poofed? It's one thing if he could wake them up by talking to them by using his dream powers, but I don't think that's what happens. From what I can tell, he just talks to them normally and forces himself to fuse with them. So what? Is he doing the R word to them while they're asleep? That's pretty fucked up. Maybe if we had a scene showing Steven use his powers to communicate with Amethyst and the others, then I'd have a better understanding of what's going on here. But we don't get that, and this mainly feels forced in so we can see Steven fuse with Pearl and Garnet. It's like, oh, it's the last episode and we want to show off these fusions that we didn't have time to show in previous episodes. Besides revealing the fusions, what's the point of all of this? Apparently it's to wake up the gems, which is dumb on its own, but again, this feels so forced here. It ruins what should be a big moment as well as reveal for these fusions. Remember when Pearl and Amethyst fused in Giant Woman? That was a very memorable moment, especially for how early it was in the series. Steven fusing with Connie was cool, and so is him fusing with Amethyst to stop Jasper. But here we see his fusion with Pearl for a total of what, 30 seconds? His fusion with Garnet is about a minute and a half, but it's so much worse than Pearl's. That's because Steven fusing with Garnet was something fans have been waiting to see for a long time. I know people wanted to see him fuse with Pearl, but literally everyone dislikes Sunstone since as a character, he's pretty lame. His design on its own I actually think is okay. He's a buff sun dude. That's alright, I guess. But this isn't what I expected a Steven and Garnet fusion to look like. If this was Steven and Ruby and made smaller, then I would like this notably more, but it's not. Even as a character, Sunstone is kind of annoying, especially his voice. It's not terrible or anything, but I'm not a fan of it. Anyway, would you believe me if I said I wasn't done complaining about these fusions? That's because Steven, Garnet, Pearl, and Amethyst all come together and fuse to become Obsidian, and wow, that was a gigantic letdown. Pun not intended. This might actually piss me off more than Sunstone, since this is a fusion between all 4 of the main characters. Alexandrite is super powerful, but this fusion is supposed to be on another level. When she gets revealed, it's sort of like, oh, okay, I guess that happened. There wasn't any build up to it, and there's not even a reason for them fusing, besides again, this being the finale and the writers wanting to show off this design. The only reason they give is that they need to reach the top of White's head, but did you really need to fuse to do that? Like, I guess it is somewhat convenient to be able to climb this giant body, but even so, wouldn't it be better if Amethyst turned into a helicopter? Steven, Garnet, and Pearl ride her, and they all fly to the top, but no, we have to show off yet another fusion because this is the finale. Also, like I said, there's no build up for this at all. All 4 of them are just able to fuse together and maintain their form for at least 3 minutes. This is the first time all 4 of you have fused together, so shouldn't this require more training and effort than a regular fusion? Again, for like the 10th time now, this whole concept is forced in here and feels super rushed. Anyway, Steven, Garnet, Pearl, Amethyst, and Connie get inside White Diamond's head, and Steven tries talking to her. White Diamond does the mime thing again and sucks the gem's colors out, and then she rips out Steven's gem and kills him. Just kidding, although that'd be better than what we got, even though this part is really funny.
Answer me.
She's gone!
So after this, Steven reunites with his gem, White Diamond gets mad and asks why he's acting like a child.
I am a child. What's your excuse?
White then blushes, has a breakdown, and then Steven talks to her again, and that's it. We don't get to see or hear what Steven says to her. She just does whatever he says because he made her blush once, and what the fuck? Are you fucking shitting me? You are a space Nazi that blows up planets, destroying their environments along with their people too. You have been doing this for well over 5,000 years, yet blushing over a dumb little insult by some short chubby ass white boys what gets you to change your mind? What the hell do I even say to this? This is god awful. White Diamond was built up as a super serious and imposing threat that even blue and yellow were afraid of. White took away their consciousness within 10 seconds just because they pissed her off once. If Steven died after his gem got removed, White most likely would have kept them like that for the rest of all eternity. She doesn't care about anything except herself and believes she's perfect. She's the most powerful being in the universe and everyone fears her. Yet what stops her and gets her to change her mind is her blushing. That is unbelievably stupid and unsatisfying. Even if you aren't opposed to White getting redeemed, you have to admit that it's written horribly here. Remember Peridot and how it took her half a season to get attached to Steven and the gems and switch sides, rebelling against her leader? Changing isn't something that happens within the span of 3 minutes. It usually takes a long ass time. You can't realistically go from super mecha space Hitler to a shy ass white girl in the span of 90 seconds. Let me remind you that she stayed the same for thousands of years without ever changing. Peridot is a lot younger than her, but was still loyal to Yellow for at least hundreds of years most likely. Even then, Peridot is a small underling. She's not one of the main dictators that goes around killing planets and people without caring. If White was going to change, which I think is an awful idea entirely, then at the very least she needed a bunch of time to develop. We're talking about a full movie here. You can't realistically change this drastically in such a short time. As much as I get frustrated with Lapis running away, it is in character for her and she does overcome her fear once the diamonds finally come to Earth. It took seasons for her to change, and even then she was still one of the good ones. Imagine a diamond going through something like this. I can't even imagine how long that would take. Also, like I said, White changing and not being evil anymore is just stupid to begin with. You need to have a villain. You can't just redeem every character. That's just dumb. Sailor Moon pisses me off due to how repetitive its plot is and how many characters they redeem, but at the very least the seasons always ended with the big bad guy getting killed. If Steven Universe wanted to copy Sailor Moon and take this route, then fine. They should have gone ahead and done it. They should have had Blue and Yellow team up with all the other gems and somehow manage to stop White Diamond since she's evil. They don't kill her obviously, but at least bubble her up for all eternity since she'll never change. This is someone who's been hyped up as this unstoppable monster for the last few episodes, but in the end she turned out to be a cheap copy of Yellow. She seemed threatening at first, but now she's a caring person, or at least is in the process of becoming a caring person. This is so stupid. You can't redeem every single character in a series. That's not realistic at all. There needs to be a villain since there are awful people in the real world. Not everyone can change and not everyone is a good person deep down inside. Dragon Ball redeemed a lot of its characters, but you know what? Dragon Ball didn't end their arcs with Goku and Frieza playing fucking hopscotch together. He beat his ass, Gohan killed Cell, and Boo hit the Quan too hard. This is terrible. Even if there was a full season that focused on White's redemption, I don't think I'd be fine with it. I'm sure it would be more tolerable and slightly more believable, but it's especially awful here due to how rushed and stupid it is. Anyway, after this, everyone comes back to Earth and things start to get better, although that's not saying much now, is it? Lars and Sadie finally see and talk to each other, which is a nice moment. Wish it were longer, but I wouldn't say it's rushed. After this, there's a montage of the diamonds using their powers to heal all the corrupted gems. Meanwhile, Steven sings a full version of the intro theme. While I'm not a big fan of Steven singing, I will admit that this is one of his best songs. The lyrics are nice and the instrumental is great too. While this montage isn't half bad, I strongly would have preferred if we heard actual dialogue between these characters instead of nothing. I'm not saying this should have been a full 22-minute episode, but there's conversations that should have been heard. What are the diamonds talking about? What does White Diamond think about all of this? She hasn't spoken since before the montage started. More importantly, what the hell is going on with Jasper? She gets uncorrupted, Amethyst says something to her, she gets embarrassed, and then that's it. She's been an important villain ever since the end of season 1, yet she gets no closure. Absolutely fucking nothing. Again, I'm not saying she should have gotten a full episode with her, although we do see her more in future, which I do appreciate. But for what was the series finale, they really needed to do something more. This montage, or mainly the idea of the gems healing all the corrupted ones, is nice, but I don't feel satisfied while watching it. That's mainly due to how we got here, which like I already said, is unrealistic and unsatisfyingly stupid. If this wasn't rushed and poorly written, this ending sequence could have been great. But as it is, it's a really bad way to end what was a solid series. I'm really not sure if I'd hate this more or less if the movie or future never got made. Maybe I'd be nicer to it since I try and appreciate the things it got right, or maybe I would have been more upset since future doesn't exist, so we get even less closure here. Either way, Change Your Mind sucks, and I know a decent amount of people are going to get pissed at me for believing this. I have a feeling some of you are going to try defending it by saying, oh, Mr. Harem Reviewer, it's not the writer's fault the finale was written this way. Cartoon Network canceled the series at this point, and they only had a handful of episodes to finish it. To that I say, yes, it is important to understand why something is written the way it is, even if it's poorly written. But whether it's the writers sucking at their job, or if it's the producers at Cartoon Network that canceled the series, either way, the finale was ruined. It doesn't really matter, since at the end of the day, all I care about is the finished product, and what we have is... Also, if you're someone who's going to defend the writers here, let me just remind you that they wasted multiple episodes focusing on Sadie's band and Steven being in a watermelon. Don't you think the writers should have used that time in those episodes more appropriately, focusing on more important issues? Anyway, this finale sucks. It's not the absolute worst thing ever made and doesn't ruin the entire series, but it does put a bad taste in my big mouth.
Big mouth.
Big mouth.
You got a friend in me.
You can make a change.
Just can it, won't ya?
So about half a year after the series concluded, they released a sequel movie, and what did I think of it?
I mean, it's alright.
I watched it shortly after it got dumped online, thought it was fine, and gave it a 6 out of 10. However, I looked at my Letterboxd account to log the film, and it turns out I already gave a review on it, which was this. Yeah, so I already said this before, but I'm not a big musical fan, so finding out that there was a buttload of songs in this sort of annoyed me. I'll get to the songs in a bit, but first let's go over the plot. So it's been 2 years since the 3 Hitlers were redeemed, and now Steven is the leader of all the diamonds and all the gems. He does a Facebook live stream revealing that he doesn't want to lead any of the gems and says he wants to stay on Earth since that's his home. This upsets the diamonds since they've fallen over and love Steven so much that they start singing. Now I have to admit that this song is good. All 3 actors can sing really well, and I guess it's now in character for them to do so too. All the diamonds are completely different now, which I'm sort of mixed on. I'm always going to be mad that this is how they all turned out, especially White, but at the same time part of me is sort of okay with them being like this. All of them used to be evil tyrants that didn't care about anyone besides each other, but now they're all gooning over Steven, which is really jarring, but also kind of amusing too. This is what they've all turned into after the last 2 years, 3 gigantic powerful chicks that only listen to some tiny chubby kid. I feel like the writers decided to double down on the diamonds, especially White, and make them even more unbelievable. This is really weird, but also amusing since it's so dumb and over the top that I'm sort of okay with it. As unrealistic as the ending was, at least it's been 2 years since then, so White and even Yellow had some time to change. Also, since it's been that long, that means everyone else including Steven are now 2 years older, and I think that's a good idea. It would have been interesting to see what happened during those 2 years, but I see why they did a time skip. The main reason is probably due to Steven's voice actor getting older. If you listen to his voice in season 1, he sounds much more like a kid, but during season 5 and even earlier on, he sounds much older. It felt like he was putting on a voice and even felt uncomfortable at times, but here he sounds much more calm, which I guess part of that is due to the plot and Steven not having to worry about the Earth blowing up anymore. However, part of that definitely has to be the actor realizing that he can use his regular voice and not try to sound like a 13 or 14-year-old kid. I guess Steven's actor was told that he can finally grow up.
Grow up? I'm 38 years old.
Anyway, shortly after Steven goes back to Earth, the new gem called Spinel comes with a giant dildo, and I don't think this is a hot take, but Spinel is easily the best part of the film. Both her new and old designs are cool, she's a very fun character, she's creative and well animated, she's great. She even gets to sing the best song in the film, which is really good, although it's annoying that we get this not even 3 minutes after the last song. I don't mind Here We Are in the Future, it's alright I guess, but this is exactly my problem with musicals. There's so many goddamn songs, like seriously. Can you guys not sing a song for 5 minutes? You think people in real life go around singing non-stop? Well, maybe people on LSD do. Anyway, this song is great. It's very well animated, it's a great introduction for Spinel, and it ends with her slicing and poofing away the crystal gems. Steven gathers the gems, goes back to his house, and finds out that her scythe resets any gem it slices and erases their memories. Since Steven is half gem, he doesn't poof or lose his memories, but all of his powers seem to have gone away. Now the next half hour centers on Steven trying to get his powers back, as well as figuring out how to get the gem's memories back. This plotline I'm not too big a fan of. I get why they did this since Steven defeated the diamond, so you can't really raise the stakes any higher. Also, the gems losing their memories isn't that interesting of a plotline since it's obvious they're going to get them back by the end. As much as I like Spinel, it's also very predictable that she's going to turn good too. The series wrote itself into a corner since Steven redeemed 3 Astolfo Hitlers, so now literally everyone has to be forgiven. They could make a sequel movie to Future where Satan himself bursts out of hell and threatens to destroy the entire solar system. But since it's Steven Universe, everyone deserves a second chance because... Anyway, despite Spinel's redemption being expected, it is handled well. However, the gems regaining in the memories is sort of mixed. Pearl is now Greg's Pearl, which is funny, especially since she didn't really like him since he, you know, killed the big fat pink woman she loved for 5,000 years. She does whatever he says, which makes sense, but apparently the only way to get her memories back is by dramatizing her. So Steven and Greg fuse into Steg, which means Greg is gone, and now she gets her memories back that way. It's kind of hard to follow, it's kind of dumb, but thankfully I'm too distracted by Steven fusing with his dad. Like, holy Michael Afton, this fusion is cool. It's a rock star that has long hair, 4 arms, and 2 guitar handles. It looks sick. The fusion is weird since, well, it's a fusion between Steven and his dad. That's something, alright. Some people have gotten really creeped out by this, which I sort of understand, but people also overreact and lie about certain things too. Some have stated that fusion is sexual, meaning Steven fucked his dad here. Fusion can be sexual, but not always, since fusion mainly stems from a connection and mutual feeling between 2 or more people. So yes, it can be sexual or romantic, but not always. I mean, not for nothing, the crystal gems are Steven's family as well as guardians, so why is him fusing with them okay, but this isn't? He doesn't have a romantic or sexual connection between the gems or his dad. They all fused because they wanted to and had a reason for doing so. The only romantic fusion is between him and Connie since they both like each other in a romantic way. The same applies for Garnet because Ruby and Sapphire love each other so much that they almost never want to split apart. There's also Aquamarine and the one Ruby from Future who fuse, and they're only able to do so due to their mutual hatred for Steven. They also struggle to fuse again since they argue, showing that they aren't very compatible with each other. So yeah, it's a funny meme to say Steven fucked his dad and all, but he didn't actually do that. It's still weird as hell and it's something that I'd never do, but either way, Steg is fucking cool and his song is good too. Anyway, Garnet and Amethyst arcs aren't much better. Ruby and Sapphire fuse after like 30 minutes of being alive again, and once they do, they start singing about love, which is sort of weird. They just met not even an hour ago, yet they fuse almost immediately. Seems kind of rushed, but then again, the same thing did happen in Garnet's flashback. Ruby and Sapphire fused after only knowing each other for like 10 minutes, or at least I think so. They never state how long Ruby had known Sapphire for. She might have just met her that day, or she might have been a Ruby that's been guarding her for many years. Either way, it's weird how they start singing about love, even though they don't seem to be in love yet. Garnet even says that love takes time in the show, but as soon as they fuse, this is what they sing about. Estelle can sing, and I do like this song, but it also sort of contradicts the character too. Garnet then gets sidelined until the last act where she gets caught by Spinel. Steven says something about truth, and then Garnet says truth and love is important. Then she gets her memories back, so, okay. It's stupid, but at least she had a full day to get her memories back, unlike Amethyst. Once Steven finds her, he talks with her for a minute and then...
In the light of the day, in the dark of the night...
Stop singing!
Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. We just got a song not even 5 minutes ago. This is easily one of the weakest songs in the film. It's forgettable, and it also speeds through Amethyst's arc. It feels like all these gems should have had a full episode or around 10 minutes dedicated to them, showing how they regain their memories. They aren't handled well, but Amethyst is easily the worst since it's literally just a 3-minute montage. Wouldn't it have been better to see Amethyst develop and slowly regain her memories instead of having her and Steven sing through it all? Maybe I would be nicer on it if I liked the song, but I could care less. Also, I'm not opposed to characters ever singing instead of just talking. For example, Pearl sings about herself and the other gems, and it works better as a song than just a regular scene.
Something is clearly wrong.
I'm not saying this needed to be a song, but her explaining who the gems are wouldn't be that interesting since we already know everything about them. Hearing her explain in the form of a song is fun, upbeat, and just a great song altogether. It's actually one of my favorites from the film. Anyway, after Pearl and Amethyst get their memories back, Spinel brings Steven to where her and his mom used to play. She sings one of the best songs, which reveals that Steven's mom was a giant asshole. Despite being Spinel's best and only friend, she immediately dumps her after finding out that she'll be in charge of Earth and leaves her all alone for over 5,000 years. Pink Diamond has done some controversial things, but this is just awful. We see in one of the flashbacks that she's bored out of her mind waiting for something to happen on Earth. She sits in her chair for God knows how long instead of coming back and visiting Spinel. I'm sure Rebecca Black didn't plan Spinel out by then, but even so, this makes Pink or Rose a notably worse person. This also supports my belief that Rose is someone who is very childish, stubborn, and also doesn't think about other people and how she affects them. She lies to all the gems she went to war with, doesn't care about Steven cleaning up her mess, and doesn't care about leaving Spinel Anyway, after this, Steven talks things out with Spinel, she takes a pink dildo out of the earth, and then Steven says this.
Now all we need are Garnet's memories and my powers, and we can all get back to living happily ever after.
Are you shitting me? How much of a big stinky baka are you?
Is that all you needed me for? To turn off my injector?
No. Well, sort of.
I did what you wanted. That's it?
Well, yeah. We can just forget this whole thing ever happened.
Spinel just saved you. She has abandonment issues, yet you treat her like this? Aren't you supposed to be the forgiving, kind, and understanding one in the series? Steven isn't a super smart character, but even so, this feels pretty dumb and forced. Spinel acts very in character. I don't have any problem with her, but Steven just sucks here. I feel like this was written to fill an hour-and-a-half time slot, but then Rebecca Black found out that the movie actually got a 2-hour time slot. So she needed to fill another 20 minutes somehow, included a big fight at the end, and called it a day. Garnet starts singing, which yes, it's another good song, but it plays over the city being destroyed, which is laughably bad. Like, holy shit, this is so jarring and doesn't fit the tone at all. Isn't this supposed to be some kind of acid that'll burn someone's skin off? These people are running for their lives, yet Garnet is singing this chill and relaxing song the entire time. This scene is also very unbelievable too. You're telling me the whole city is being destroyed, yet no one dies or gets hurt? Greg gets hit in the arm by some of the acid, but it turns out that all it does is make your skin numb? Does it even hurt, or is Greg such a Chad that he's holding back all his pain? Anyway, Steven somehow manages to climb the giant dildo despite there being nothing to grip onto, fight Spinel, and
I can make a promise. I can make a plan.
Stop singing!
Spinel cries, and of course she changes sides because Rebecca Black didn't want to end the movie with Steven doing what Trunks did to Frieza. After Spinel changes sides, again, the Diamonds come and decide to bring Spinel back to Homeworld with them. This I actually like. All 4 of them love Pink and they're all lonely without her, as well as Steven. So instead, the Diamonds take Spinel to keep them entertained since Steven doesn't want to live on Homeworld. It's a nice ending, even if it doesn't make up for all the problems I have with the film. The Crystal Gems arcs aren't handled very well. There's way too many songs, even if at least half of them I enjoy. On their own and listening to them outside the film, they're usually better, but hearing song after song after song after song while watching gets annoying really fast. There's some other minor complaints, like how Connie is written out of the movie until the end, where all she does is help evacuate some of the people. Peridot, Lapis, Bismuth, and no one else also somehow don't see Spinel come down on her giant dildo. Like, are you serious? It's humongous, and you can see it from where they live pretty easily. I'm sure Lapis would have been able to fly there with Peridot or Bismuth within minutes, but maybe the writers didn't want them meeting Spinel while she was evil. I don't know, but either way, that's the movie, and I have mixed feelings on it. There's aspects that are really good, but there's too many issues that prevent me from saying I overall enjoy it. Not a bad film by any means, it's watchable and I wouldn't mind seeing it again, although I'd rather watch something else like Toy Story.
Up your ass.
Big Mouse.
Oh my god, we're like, what, 2.5 hours in, and we still have another season to get through. So this is Steven Universe Future, which takes place and also aired a few months after the movie. The first episode mainly shows that Steven is still healing corrupted gems, as well as helping them learn to live on Earth or move back to Homeworld. Even after all this time though, he was still never able to get through the Jasper, which I really like. It shows that even though Steven wants her to change, she herself doesn't, since she's so stubborn and stupid. She's been living out in the mountains for over 2 years, doing nothing but training. Steven fights her for a bit, but then stops because he's a... Steven asks Jasper if he can come again to see her, which he says she doesn't care, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Future is mostly a more relaxing series, which makes sense since it's an epilogue. It's not supposed to be a major sequel with insane storylines or plot reveals. As the first episode, it's solid, especially since we get to see Jasper the friendly ghost fight again.
And now for something completely different.
Amethyst is showing Steven that a lot of gems are working jobs in Bitch City, but Steven doesn't like it since all the gems are doing exactly what they did on Homeworld. This is a very disappointing follow-up. Steven isn't entirely wrong here, but he's still really annoying to watch. He doesn't care about anything Amethyst says, despite her understanding gems more than he does. Like, I get it, there's nothing wrong with trying something new, but if the gems don't want to change and stick with what they like, then what's wrong with that? Obviously, all the gems are going to mess up the job Steven gave to them, and he has to realize that most of them are better off doing what they wanted to do. This reminds me much more of early season 1 Steven, since the problem stems entirely from him messing up. It's sort of like Frybo, where there wouldn't be a conflict if Steven just listened to one of the gems and paid attention. Nothing terrible by any means, but still, this is easily one of the season's worst.
Is his sled. It was his sled from when he was a kid.
This is so great! I'm dying! I'm dying! I am dead! I am dead, Rose Quartz!
Steven goes on Pink's ship where the zoo is and finds out that all the rose quartz got unbubbled, so 3 of them come back to his house. This is one of the most uncomfortable episodes. Steven spends most of it hanging out with 3 gems that resemble his mom. It's cringy and tough to watch, but that's sort of the whole point. It also makes sense why these gems exist, and I'm glad that this plot happened since I always wondered where the other rose quartz were. Maybe they all got shattered, but apparently Pink bubbled them all and hid them in the ship, I think. Then again, if that's true, then wouldn't Blue have found out and shattered them all? Did she keep them in a secret place or something? I don't know, but either way, this makes me feel uncomfortable.
You sick monster!
Ryder?
Come on, it's the timeout booth for you!
Ryder!
The Amethyst!
Nice car.
Steven meets his mom's original Pearl and tries to heal the scar on her eye. If you're a Rose fan, then you probably like her notably less due to the movie as well as this episode. Not only did she abandon her best friend, but she also damaged her original Pearl and scarred her for the rest of her life. I know Rose is far from perfect, but wow, I didn't realize she was this psychotic, and Steven and Pearl didn't either. Steven gets angry over finding this out, but I feel like Pearl should be more upset over this since she's known Rose for thousands of years. She and Pink's Pearl fuse at the end and make a big Pearl, so that's cool because big things are big, just like
Big Mouse. Big Mouse.
Up your bitch. Up your bitch.
Big Mouse.
That fucking bird that I hate! That fucking bird that I hate!
That fucking bird that I hate.
There's a new gem called Bluebird that comes to town, and everyone knows it's a fusion of Aquamarine and one of the evil rubies. This is one of the most disliked episodes, or at least it's considered one of the weakest from Future. There's nothing awful about it, it's mainly just a big waste of potential. The show brought back 2 villains that still hate Steven, yet nothing really happens for half the episode. Steven is concerned that Bluebird is going to do something evil, but everyone thinks he's crazy. But then at the end, it turns out that Steven was right. He hits him like 2 times, and then that's it. Bluebird flies away and is never seen again, so what was the point of all this? I guess it's to show that there are still gems that dislike him, but they aren't strong enough to be considered a threat to him or anyone else. It's fun to see Aquamarine and this ruby again, but besides that, it's a plotline that was wasted and could have been notably stronger.
Nanny wanted. Well, that sounds like a good job for an immigrant.
Steven and Pearl fuse to spend time with Onion. However, Steven also wants to fuse with Garnet so he can help teach some gems about safety. Okay, so I think everyone can agree that this is the worst episode of Future, and even one of the worst from the entire series. This is like a checklist of what not to include and how not to write a Steven Universe episode. First off, there's the premise, which is Steven struggling trying to be in 2 places at once and be with 2 different people. This is such a generic plotline and has been done in other series, and the episode does nothing new with it. Second, this is really boring, unfunny, as well as a filler episode, which I'm not opposed to, but if you're going to write filler, then at least make it good and not boring. Third, there's the fusions, which are Rainbow Quartz and Sunstone, both of which are my least favorite fusions. They're both annoying and lame, but I guess their inclusions are somewhat merited since they got no screen time in the original series. Fourth, this has Onion in it. He fucking sucks. And finally, this has an annoying song too.
Stick by stick, the little blackbird builds a nest.
Stop singing!
So yeah, I can't stand this episode, and what makes it worse is that it wastes an episode that could have been focused on, I don't know, literally anything other than this. Steven is focused on doing work for Little Homeworld, but the gems force him to play Steven tag since they want him to take a break and relax. This is pretty much a filler episode, but like I've already said, I don't mind filler as long as it's fun, and this one definitely is. I like how Steven and the gems have switched roles here, since Steven used to be the childish one and the gems used to be the more serious ones. It shows that Steven has matured a lot, but doesn't understand that he also needs to take a break and enjoy himself too. The game of Steven tag is pretty fun since we get to see a Steven version of every single fusion.
Daddy! Water!
Steven and Lapis go to another planet, find 2 other Lapis Lazulis who are griefing someone's base, and try to get them to stop. Like Bluebird, this is another interesting concept, however it doesn't feel like a waste. It's still not great by any means, but it's overall decent, mainly because it's fun seeing one gem try to interact with others just like her. It's predictable, of course the Lapises are going to turn good, or at least stop, but at least only one of them decides to come to Earth at the end. Maybe I'd like this more if I like Lapis more. She's not an asshole anymore, thankfully, and we even see her fuck up these 2 blue bimbos. Steven is upset that Lars and Sadie broke up, so he traps everyone in a dome. This is a really tough one to watch. I ship Sadie and Lars so hard, and it sucks that they didn't get together. Instead, Sadie gets together with this hillbilly that we've never seen before, which really isn't satisfying for me. I don't have anything against Chef Boyardee, but just the idea of a new random character who we never see again get together with Sadie rubs me the wrong way. Maybe Chef Boyardee will fall off a cliff and die in the Lars spinoff, and Lars will come back and marry Sadie, but I doubt that'll happen. Anyway, Steven is really tough to watch here, but I can forgive him since I feel the same way he does. Change can't suck except when it's sung by Deftones. Steven grows a cactus that is able to talk, however he repeats everything he says, including all the mean stuff he says about the gems. Steven is kind of a dick here. I know he isn't saying anything to the gems themselves, but even so, why say this at all? More importantly, why is he growing a cactus? All they do is sit there and hurt you every time you touch them. The only thing they're good for is farming green dye in Minecraft. Anyway, not much to say. It's a bit boring and forgettable, and it should have ended with Steven blowing the cactus up. Steven and Peridot hate the reboot of their favorite show, so they decide to write their own version. Peridot also finds out that Steven has the power to show his dreams on his TV while he's sleeping, which is really dumb. Steven has a lot of powers, one of which includes talking to people while he's sleeping, but now this is just something he can do. It's not broken like his healing powers, but it's still something really random and is only here because the writers wanted to make this specific episode. We need Peridot to be able to see Steven's dreams somehow, so let's give him the power to transmit his dreams onto a TV without even knowing. It's not a huge issue, and it's not like it's broken either, but still, it's just really fucking dumb. Anyway, still a fun episode, especially since Peridot is in it, plus I like how it ends with them enjoying how bad their favorite show's reboot is. Connie, her friends Steven, Pearl, and Bismuth go to a skating rink. However, it's awkward for Steven because
I think I've forgotten how to talk to humans.
What the fuck? What do you mean you don't know how to talk to humans? You've had no problems talking to literally anyone in Bitch City. There's a French fry family, pizza family, Jamie, Sadie, Lars, the cool kids, and others as well. I get that Steven hasn't talked with that many people his age, but even so, he's a very social person, so this shouldn't matter that much. It's such a stupid line, but it thankfully doesn't ruin the episode. The whole point is that Steven is awkward since he doesn't know Connie's friends and doesn't know how to interact with them yet, which is extremely relatable. It's really hard to get to know certain people, especially if you're nervous and know nothing about them. Sometimes it's much easier with others, but this is still something I, as well as others, struggle dealing with. We get a nice moment between Steven and Bismuth, and the ending is nice too, but still, it's nothing too special.
Denied.
The last few episodes, and even some of the earlier ones, have been important, but this is where the main, as well as final arc truly begins. Steven decides to propose to Connie, however he gets
denied.
Not only does Steven propose, but he also says that they should live the rest of their lives as Stefani, and yeah, I wonder why that didn't go so well. Fusing every once in a while is nice, but living as the same person all the time is wrong and kind of creepy too. I get that Steven is a dumb kid and all, but he's really cringy in this one. He's sort of right that if they both love each other and they know they want to get married, then at the very least they should get engaged. But Connie doesn't want to, leaves and takes Lion with her, but then Lion...
Sir, I think you should know these growths on your forearms. They're giant tumors.
Everyone's getting married but me.
Steven is upset over Connie rejecting him, which causes his body to morph, so he goes to see Connie's mom. Obviously, this is caused by Steven's powers and emotions, but more specifically, it's due to his stress and life-threatening events finally catching up to him. He's almost died like 50 times in the series, and he hasn't thought much of it until now. Even some of the early episodes were dramatizing for him, since he almost died turning into a cat monster and died of old age. Now that the world is saved, he believes that anything that stresses him out is life-threatening, which is very believable as well as relatable. The ending is also great. Greg comes and helps him calm down. Easily the best episode so far.
What the hell is wrong with you? We're a family!
Greg hangs out with Steven, they go to his parents' house, but then Steven goes crazy and...
I'm a universe! Watch out!
Yeah, so some people hate this scene since Steven almost killed his own dad, but the thing is, he didn't mean to. His emotions were out of control, he couldn't control his powers and broke the wheel. Obviously, Steven is in the wrong for doing this, but it's not like he did this on purpose and tried to kill his dad. The aftermath of this is kind of mixed though. Greg is scared, but also proud of Steven since he told him off. He was never able to do that to his dad, which I do like, but at the same time, Steven almost killed the two of you. Shouldn't you be more angry at him? Then again, I guess all he cares about now is that they're both not dead. Anyway, it's nice seeing the house Greg grew up in, as well as finding out more as to why he left his family. They were very strict and gave him no freedom, which is why and how Greg ended up the way he did. This pisses off Steven though, since he wished he had the life his dad did. He didn't grow up in a house with two parents, went to school, or has even been to a doctor before. Part of that has to do with Greg being too carefree and wanting Steven to have the life he never had, which is understandable, but also a bit selfish. However, what's more important is that Greg says Steven is half gem, meaning he isn't a normal kid. He doesn't know what would happen to Steven if he went to school. His powers could have acted up and hurt someone, sort of like... Anyway, despite Steven going to his grandparents' house, he doesn't get to meet them, which I'm sort of mixed on. I think it would be really interesting to see him talk with them, especially with Greg being there and not seeing them in over 2 decades. Maybe Greg is right and they are way too strict and overprotective, or maybe Steven is right and Greg learns that he was wrong to leave his family. It feels like a wasted opportunity, but it's also something that didn't need to happen. We learn enough about Greg's living situation here to understand why he left, and it's up to you to decide whether what he did was right or wrong. Greg is selfish and controversial, which is probably one reason as to why he and Rose were able to get along so well. Anyway, the scene where Greg explains why he changed his last name to Universe is also great. He only did so because he liked this one shitty song and he believes it'll change Steven's life just like it did for him. But Steven realizes the song sucks, and if any song or band is gonna change him, it's gonna be something awesome like Deftones, Linkin Park, or True Friend.
Training mode!
Stop smiling.
But I've seen you smile.
Steven needs a break from the gems, so he goes to the mountains and trains with Jasper. This episode is mostly awesome. Jasper training with Steven is great, and their fight is sick too, especially since it ends with Jasper Steven gets so caught up in the fight that he goes sicko mode and shatters her. This should be a fantastic moment, but unfortunately it's followed up by something really dumb. So even though Jasper is shattered, Steven is still able to heal her with his as well as the other diamond's powers. That is really fucking stupid and ruins the whole point of gems being shattered. Once a gem is shattered, that's it. They're dead. They can't be brought back, but now all of a sudden they can? This does require the power of all the diamonds, which now isn't really an issue since Steven can go to them anytime he wants. This also only works if all the pieces of a shattered gem are there, so I guess they can't find a small piece of a gem and bring them back to life. Either way, it's not that difficult for Steven to do this, and it ruins the stakes of gems getting shattered. They should have made this like Spinel's Scythe and had the gems reset after coming back. This is technically a new life for them, so at the very least have some sort of consequences for them dying. Have them lose all their memories. I don't know, just do something other than this. I understand Steven was able to bring Lars back to life, which I still didn't like, but Jasper is someone he killed himself. With this, Steven can go around killing people and bringing them back to life just because he can. I know he's not going to do that, and gems are rarely going to be shattered, but still, it's stupid and I don't like it.
I'm always angry.
Steven is worried and angry about his powers acting up, so he goes to Homeworld to see if the diamonds can help him. Seeing the diamonds as well as Spinel again is nice, although it sucks that we rarely see them in this season. The same applies for Jasper, since there's more they could have done with her too, especially since she's one of the last characters to get redeemed. Anyway, as soon as we see Yellow, she's fixing or actually resurrecting gems back to life, just like Steven did in the last episode. What the fuck? Why are you doubling down on characters being able to die? As frustrating as it was, at least it sort of made sense for Steven being able to do this since he is a healer and brought Lars back to life before. But Yellow isn't. Apparently she can bring any shattered gem back just by putting their pieces back together without the help of the other diamonds too. Anyway, besides that, this episode is pretty fun, especially the ending where Steven almost smashes White's head into a pillar.
Are you okay?
I should head over there and make myself useful.
I'll see you all there.
Steven goes to Little Homeworld and messes everything up, but says everything is fine because everyone makes mistakes. This might just be the toughest episode to watch in the season, and maybe even the whole series too. It's so cringy and uncomfortable, although I get that's the entire point. Steven is going through so many different emotions right now, and he's losing control of his body, so I guess you could say his body wasn't ready.
My body is ready.
Monster, how should I feel?
Steven turns into a monster, and all the gems stop and calm him down by, giving him a hug.
You serious?
And no, I don't mean that kind of hug.
How about...
But yes, this is how the last major arc ends, by everyone giving him a fucking hug. Yes, they do try to stop him with brute force, which doesn't work, but solving this whole arc with a hug is, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't have a problem with all these characters telling Steven how much they love him and hugging him, but they shouldn't be what solves and ends the arc. This is what they should have done after they stopped him and helped turn him back. Wait, hold on a minute. Even the cluster is here too? Now that I think about it, where were they during the movie? Did they not care that Spinel was going to destroy the entire city? Does the cluster only come out whenever it feels like it? Anyway, I know this is a kid show and all, but could they have been any more subtle with some of this dialogue?
He's like this because of us. We're the source of Steven's suffering.
This is my fault.
Spinel, don't be silly. Everyone knows that all of this is because of me.
Like Jesus, we get that the diamonds understand that part of this is their fault, but could you make this any less obvious? This whole ending feels rushed too. Not the episode itself, but just how the arc ends. It feels like they needed at least another few episodes to wrap this up, but ran out of runtime, so they settled with this. I know some of the earlier episodes are important and fun, but even one more could have made this ending better, and wow, I wonder which one they could have gotten rid of. Anyway, this isn't as offensive and disappointing as Change Your Mind, since a whole series had been building up to that episode. Meanwhile, there were only 18 episodes that led to this moment, which yeah, it's still frustrating, but not nearly as much. Also, this isn't the final episode since there's one more, so let's see how bad it can be.
Farewell, my diamond.
Steven decides to leave Bitch City and says goodbye to everyone he knows. So after what, like around 3 hours, we finally make it to the last episode of the series, and thankfully it's not bad at all. This is one final send-off showing most of the main characters getting one last moment with Steven. It's nice, it's emotional, even if I didn't cry at all, it's a solid finale. It's only 11 minutes long sadly, and I wish it were longer, but as it is, it still works despite the normal runtime. Steven talking with Greg, and especially him talking with the gems, is satisfying, and like I said, it's pretty emotional. Considering this is an epilogue series, it makes sense that this is how the season ends. I might not have liked the last episode, but even if it was written well, I still would have wanted something extra and more relaxing like this. There are some plot lines that never happened or didn't develop fully, such as Steven meeting his grandparents or getting more closure with Jasper. Those are disappointing, and there's definitely more the season could have done, but I'm not frustrated that those stories never happened. There are more things I would have liked to see, not episodes that needed to happen. Also, it's hard to complain too much since the gems sing Cookie Cat, which is great. Like seriously, they didn't need to do this.
Cookie Cat! He's super duper yummy!
Cookie Cat!
He left his family behind.
Anyway, Steven Universe's finale isn't fantastic, but it's still a very nice send-off to a mixed season, as well as flawed but still entertaining series as a whole. Well, that took longer than expected, but would you believe me if I said I still wasn't done with this video? I still have to rank every single episode, but before I get to that, I'm going to do what I've done with my other rankings and rank the seasons. So let's see which season is the best and which is the not so best.
Number 6.
So season 4 is the weakest season, which is sort of surprising. However, looking back, I can see why. Not that much really happens in terms of story progression besides a handful of episodes. There's a zoo arc, which is enjoyable, but still a bit underwhelming, and besides that, nothing happens until the last 2 episodes. This wouldn't be that big of an issue if the rest of the episodes were good, which not all of them are. There's some god-awful episodes like Buddy's Book, Onion Gang, Tiger Philanthropist, and Rocknaldo. This was when the filler or townie episodes were starting to get less interesting, although season 5 was when they really went down the shitter. Like every season though, it's still overall decent, but there are moments that are rough to get through.
Number 5.
This is also a bit surprising, but season 5 is better than 4. Some people shit excited on the final season, and even while watching, I was expecting it to be the weakest season. That's because while a lot of the story episodes are great, the filler ones are easily the weakest and most boring they've ever been. I mean, seriously, we go from Lars getting resurrected in space to Mayor fucking Bluey trying to win an election. Then we go from an episode revealing Pink Diamond for the first time to Sadie singing some shitty song in a band. There's not that many filler episodes here, but the ones that are here are really bad and boring. Most of the story episodes are really solid and sort of make up for this, except for the ending, since that's
number 4.
This is really funny since this has never happened before, but after doing the math, season 6 is 0.01 points better than season 5. It seems kind of wrong placing Future higher than 5, but apparently it's a nipple hair better. Anyway, some people hate on Future, which I don't see why. I get being disappointed and expecting more, but there are some really good ideas and episodes here. We get to see what happened to Pink Diamond's original Pearl, learn more about Greg's upbringing, and of course Steven goes through puberty. While some plot points aren't developed enough and have me wishing for more, I'm still overall happy with its final episode, even if the arc's ending was shit.
Number 3.
This whole season ranking has been surprising, but I guess it makes sense that the first season is placed in the middle. This is by far the longest season, totaling at 52 episodes, which is twice as long as every other season. Since it's so long, there's obviously going to be some misses, but there's not a whole lot that I wouldn't want to rewatch again. Yes, there's forgettable and even bad episodes, but a lot of them range from decent to pretty good. There are some classics like Rose's Scabbard, On the Run, and Jailbreak, but not a lot I'd consider to be high or top tier. Since this is the first season, the filler episodes are much more tolerable due to the main story not being that developed or interesting yet. If this was 10 episodes shorter and most of the filler episodes were removed, then this would have been almost as good as season 2 and 3. But as it is, season 1 is a bit rough to get through due to its length and pacing, but there's still a lot of decent episodes here.
Number 2.
Alright, this was pretty obvious even before rewatching the series, but season 2 is the second best season. This focuses a lot on Peridot, who's best gem, and includes the arc where Pearl fuses with Garnet because she's an asshole. This might actually be the best season if I went by IMDb's listing, since I counted the last 4 episodes as part of season 3. Most of those are rated highly as well, so maybe season 2 should be the best, but don't blame me. Blame Cartoon Network for fucking up on the DVD set. Anyway, there's obviously some misses like the Uncle Grandpa crossover and a few others, but the good ones easily outweigh the bad.
One!
Like I just said, this might actually be the second best season, but Cartoon Network is done with their DVDs. Anyway, even if you ignore those 4 episodes, this is a solid season. Not only do we get more from Peridot, but also the return of Lapis. The barn is a nice new setting, most of the filler episodes aren't too bad, and we finally get an end to Jasper's arc. Looking back, there's not that many story episodes, but the ones that are here are pretty major, even if I have my problems with them. That being said, this and season 2 aren't great, but even with their flaws, they're still good seasons of a good show. Holy John Kerry, that took longer than expected. I reviewed 6 seasons, over 150 episodes, and even the movie too. Like always, it was fun going back and rewatching a show that I remember enjoying, even if it wasn't one I'd say I grew up watching. For most rankings, I go into them expecting to enjoy them less, and that was especially the case for this one. Over the last few years, Steven Universe has become more controversial and received more criticism rather than praise. Because of this, I was expecting to enjoy the show considerably less this time around, and maybe even outright disliking the last few seasons. But thankfully that didn't happen, and even Future I overall enjoyed. That being said, there are some major problems that hold us back from being a great series. The story may be exciting and creative, but there are notable problems such as both its endings being rushed as well as majorly underwhelming. There's a good handful of fillers that only get worse as the show goes on, which makes watching the series a drag at times. But even with its shortcomings, there was never a point where I'd say the show got bad or went downhill. Yes, it did get worse in its second half due to the reasons I mentioned, but still, I overall enjoyed the last 3 seasons. Anyway, this video took an insane amount of time to write, record, and edit. So if you want to support and help me continue making videos, then you can leave a like, comment, share, or subscribe. You can also join the Discord server, support me on Patreon, or even become a channel member here on YouTube starting at only 99 cents.
But shit, it was...
For those who don't know, I made a poll for my last 4 rankings where I let you guys decide what show I should rank and review next. You guys voted and chose Steven Universe, so I'll let you guys do it yet again. Shortly after this comes out, I'll make a new poll which will include Avatar, Dexter's Lab, Courage, and Ben 10, and you can all vote for which of those I'll review next. Anyway, it's almost time to rank every single episode, but before that, let me know in the comments if you enjoyed how this video was structured. Do you prefer me reviewing a series from beginning to end and ranking them all at the end? end? Or do you enjoy how I've done them before and go from worst to best? If a lot of you say you prefer the structure, then I might try doing this again. Anyway, that's the end of the video. It's time for the episode ranking. Play the fucking music, baby. If I could begin to be half of what you think of me, I could do about anything. I could even learn how to love. When I see the way you act, wondering when I'm coming back, I could do about anything. I could even learn how to love like you. Love like you. I always thought I might be bad. Now I'm sure that it's true, 'cause I think you're so good. And I'm nothing like you. Look at you go, I just adore you. I wish that I knew what makes you think I'm so special. If I could begin to do something that does right by you, I would do about anything. I would even learn how to love. Fuck it. Put on that good shit. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This kind of music's my fucking shit, man. Hell yeah, this better not get copyright struck. I'm gonna be so fucking pissed off if it does. I'm gonna be so fucking angry. I watched you change into a fly. I looked away. You're on fire. I watched a change in you. It's like you never had wings. And you feel so alive. I've watched you change.
Big mouse.
Also, special shout out to Marvin Mack for being a channel member and Mega for being a patron. Thanks for supporting the channel. However, no thanks to Onion for being a giant piece of shit. I hate you so much. Time to teach you a lesson once and for all.
Fuck you, Onion! You Onion! Fuck you, Onion! Motherfucking pedophile!
Big Mouse.